Villain. After I died, the heroines all went crazy? Gare, you have an Emperor Dragon Emperor bone and an Ancient Beast Phoenix Supreme bone. If you lose one, you'll be fine. Junior brother is dying, you must transplant a supreme bone to him, otherwise he will die. As a voice sounded, Ruo Qiange opened his eyes blankly, looked around, and found that a stunningly beautiful woman in a white dress was talking to him. According to the memory, it can be known that this person is his master, and his legs are very white. Ruo Qiange was stunned for a while and realized that she had transmigrated. Moreover, I have transmigrated a novel that is amazingly cool. The male protagonist in it is very strong, blessed with a halo of intelligence and charm, and he acts like a cheater. The novel is probably about the story of the male protagonist defeating the male villain together with his master who loves him, his senior sister who sacrifices his life to save him, and his junior sister who admires him. Then the master gradually fell in love with the protagonist, and the three fairies also accepted each other under the hero's wisdom and charm, and the story of living happily together was really touching. Well, although it's a bit outrageous, it does look pretty cool. However, after reading the script, Ruo Qiange seemed to realize that he was not the protagonist, but the unlucky male villain, the male protagonist's senior brother. When it was over, I suddenly felt unhappy. How to play this? It seems that I have to start again. But it's not completely hopeless. According to the plot, Ruo Qiange was a good person in the early stage, and he was also a peerless genius in the sect. The reason why he later turned black was because he was driven crazy by the male protagonist and several unfaithful female protagonists. Now it is the early stage of the plot, and the female protagonist, the masters, were relatively friendly towards him, as long as Ruo Qiange left this place of right and wrong quickly. Just when I was making plans in my mind, the system came. Congratulations to the host for awakening the heroine's revenge system. As long as the host takes revenge on the heroine on behalf of the original owner and causes the heroine to have negative emotions such as regret, he can obtain rewards from the system. Oh, there is actually a system. If the corners of Ruo Qiange's mouth raised slightly, it seemed that he could change his mind. Well, Qiange, why are you in a daze? Master is talking to you. A clear and sweet voice with a hint of gentleness sounded. If Qiange felt someone tugging on her clothes, she turned around and saw a woman as beautiful as a celestial immortal, wearing a long cyan dress, looking at her doubtfully. This was his senior sister. Ruo Qiange looked up and down a few times, nodded and said to herself, well, she is indeed one of the protagonist's harem. They are all as beautiful as a celestial immortal, and their legs are very white. Could senior brother Qian be reluctant to take out the bones for senior brother Zhang to use, and refuse to save him until death? I don't believe that senior brother is such a person. Suddenly, a soft voice with a hint of tea sounded. It's so disgusting, it's so level at first glance. Ruo Qiange frowned and looked at the source of the sound. It was a girl in a red dress, his junior sister. I'm going to die without saving you, what can you do to me? Ruo Qiange glanced at Su Rui coldly, and was so frightened that she moved her legs back a few steps. What's going on? This look is so scary. Senior brother is such a kind person and always loves me very much. How could he look at me with this look today? Su Rui was a little panicked for a moment, but then I thought about it, maybe my senior brother was in a bad mood, otherwise why would he look at me like this? Su Rui quickly figured out the reason. Ruo Qiange's eyes became colder and colder. Why is he so angry? In fact, the reason is very simple. It's like you have a supreme bone growing on your body. You could have walked on an invincible path and stood at the top of the world, but suddenly a stale person morally kidnapped you and asked you to take out the supreme bone. If you don't want to take it, you will be called stingy, which no one can bear. When Tang Seng came, he couldn't help but want to hit someone. If Qiange has two supreme level bones, the bones from the Emperor Dragon Emperor and the ancient beast Huang Daoyun. Even if any one of the supreme bones is removed, only one left can still be called the young supreme. But he can obviously have two supreme bones, so why give up one? Isn't it good to have multiple bones and multiple paths? The most important thing is that this male protagonist is not in danger of his life at all. It is just a trap set by the witch of the ancient world on the male protagonist. If he loses a few small realms or a big realm, he can avoid the life and death crisis, so he has to take his own. Jiu Lai pays for his cause and effect. Why? Let him use it to kill himself in the end? Thinking of this, Ruo Qiange's face became colder and colder, and the murderous intention in his body continued to rise. Gare, are you hesitant for some reason? Don't be afraid, just tell the master. Seeing that something was wrong with Ruo Qiange, Yi Qingshui frowned slightly, stroked Ruo Qiange's head, and spoke softly. This apprentice knows best and is always very gentle. This reaction must mean that something has happened to him. As a master, Yi Qingshui naturally has to provide psychological counseling for her apprentice. Haha. Why do you hesitate? After losing this bone, I am like a young phoenix that breaks one of its wings and ruins its own path. Why do you think I hesitate? Ruo Qiange looked at Yi Qingshui quietly, feeling drunk with such a master. Or maybe it's because of the aura of wisdom and charm. In my memory, the master really loved me before, but he became like this after meeting the protagonist. But even so, Ruo Qiange would not let her do whatever she wanted. To ruin your path, you have 2 supreme bones and you are the supreme in the world. Even if you only have 1, you are still supreme. How can it ruin your path? Is it possible that my junior brother's life is so cheap in your eyes? Yi Qingshui was also a little angry. She had always loved her apprentice as her dearest person, but she didn't expect Ruo Qiange to be so indifferent to family ties. What's wrong with 1 missing supreme bone? 2 root bones are geniuses, so wouldn't it be the same if there is only 1? If she had 2 supreme bones, she would definitely be willing to give them to her apprentice, even if it was just 1. Because in Yi Qingshui's eyes, any one of the 4 apprentices was even more important than her life. Haha, with 2 supreme bones, I can compete with the best in the world. If I lose 1, my vitality will be severely damaged and my potential will be cut off. At most, I can only be called the number 1 supreme among the small sects in this world. Stealing if you change the concept, it's extremely disgusting, Ruo Qiange sneered. Yi Qingshui's face turned a little ugly when she heard this. Unexpectedly, in the eyes of this disciple, his own future is more important than the lives of his closest relatives. This is a failed education. If it were her, she would definitely be willing to donate her bones. After all, her disciples are more important than her own life in her eyes. Let's go. Leave Ziyang sect. From now on, you and I are no longer master and disciple. If we meet you again, we will be strangers. Yi Qingshui took a deep look at Ruo Qiange, turned her head away in disappointment, and closed her eyes. If Qiange was really unwilling, she would not force him to do so, because in Yi Qingshui's eyes, all 4 apprentices were equally important. The reason why she severed the master-disciple relationship was because it was impossible for her to admit that she had such a disciple. The heart is dead. The reason why I let the other person go is because I miss the old feelings, nothing more. Okay, then I'm leaving. Ruo Qiange turned around without hesitation after leaving these words, and when he was about to fly away from this land of right and wrong, a sweet shout stopped him. No, you can't leave. Ruo Qiange turned around in confusion and found that it was her senior sister who was calling her. What, is something wrong? Haha, I didn't expect you to be such a person who doesn't recognize your relatives and make Master so disappointed. But do you still remember the kindness that Master has given you in raising you for more than 10 years? You can leave if you want, but you must repay this kindness. The woman in green clothes had green hair shawl, biting her lip and looking at Ruo Qiange angrily with a hint of disappointment. Dang. Everyone is aware of the situation around the host and asks the host to expose the lies of Zhang Chen, male protagonist, and the witch of the ancient world. These women will definitely not believe it. The host destroyed his 2 supreme bones to shock the women and let them unfold. Investigate, and you will regret it after learning the truth. After completing some stages, you will be rewarded with a gift package for newbies, and after completing the task, you will be rewarded with 1,000 revenge points. Just then the system sound rang. Destroying both bones? Are they worthy of me doing this? Ruo Qiange smiled. He doesn't have any advantages, he just has 2 more supreme bones than ordinary people. If he loses these 2 bones, wouldn't he become an ordinary person? He would not be so stupid as to sacrifice his own interests to make others regret. Others regret it, but what can he gain? Is it useful to regret it? I have not become a useless person. It just makes the conscience of a few female protagonists a little difficult. Could it be that they can't live a good life? 10 years later and 100 years later, he attained enlightenment, got married, and had children, but he was forgotten in the corner. Will you remember him a little bit? Even if you think of him, you will just sigh, haha. The task is completed, and the host will be greatly rewarded. The novice gift package, True Dragon and Phoenix Double Supreme Bone, is worth more than the host's Double Supreme Bone. Ruo Qiange thought for a while and nodded. Okay, let's do as you say. As the saying goes, he who knows the current affairs is a hero. If there are benefits, of course he will take advantage of them. According to the plot, it can be known that the witch in the ancient world and the male protagonist Zhang Chen knew each other. Zhang Chen was able to come to Ziyang sect to worship his master as his teacher because of the guidance of the witch, and he ended up in a trap. If Qian Zhe had 2 supreme bones, the witch knew that Yi Qingshui was a person who valued emotions, so he was a master who loved his disciple. If something happened to his disciple, he would never leave it alone and would even risk his own life. After Zhang Chen developed feelings, he staged such a cruel trick, leaving Zhang Chen's life hanging by a thread, and he could only use Supreme Bone to save him. Yi Qingshui has always valued family ties more than strength. In addition, if Qiange had 2 Supreme Bones, she would definitely take one of his root bones to save Zhang Chen. In this way, the witch took the bad guy for granted, and the male protagonist benefited from it without knowing it. He became more kind to his master, and the relationship between the 2 parties was greatly improved. After all, if Qian Zhe was unwilling to sacrifice his body in every possible way, it was because of his master. He is reluctant to sacrifice his relationship, so Zhang Chen will only remember his master's kindness. In this way, the whole audience will be happy, and only Ruo Qiange will be hurt. Falling off the altar, no one cares. Although everyone was somewhat touched by what Waka Chica did, they didn't see much in their eyes. After all, Waka Chica had 2 supreme bones. If one was missing, he would still be supreme. After a while, he completely forgot about it. Incredible plot. Ruo Qiange can only comment like this. Standing on the moral high ground to accuse others, if it were you who went from being the most arrogant person in the world, destined to rule the world, to a genius in a small sect, would you be willing to sacrifice your bones? The more Ruo Qiange looked at these women, the more disgusting she felt. By the way, the male protagonist was also quite disgusting. He completely forgot about his kindness. In the end, because of his darkening, he found a righteous reason to be with his righteous heart. Master, senior fellow apprentices endured the pain and killed themselves. Gare, didn't I tell you not to donate bones? Why are you still looking at Master like this? Sensing Ruo Qiange's disgusted eyes, Yi Qingshui asked. Ruo Qiange retracted her thoughts, breathed a sigh of relief, and said with a smile, Master was deceived by Zhang Chen. He doesn't need Supreme Bone to heal his body at all. What do you mean? Yi Qingshui frowned slightly, a trace of confusion appeared on her originally tender face, and she stared at Ruo Qiange blankly. Ruo Qiange cleared her throat, collected her thoughts and then spoke slowly. This Zhang Chen somehow hooked up with the witch in the ancient world. The witch set up such a trap to help him. From our point of view, if Zhang Chen without supreme bone transplantation, it is a doomed situation. The ancient world's methods are very strange. If Zhang Chen is handed over to their hands, he will definitely not die. At most, he will lose a few small realms. Master. Senior sister. Junior sister. Gare, you don't have to say anything. You can leave if you want. There's no need to make up such ridiculous things. I won't force you to stay. It's just that from now on, you and I are no longer master and disciple. Yi Qingshui sighed, and the disappointment in her eyes became a little more. She really didn't expect that Ruo Qiange would be selfish enough to make up such a lie to deceive herself. She won't force Ruo Qiange to hand over the bones, but the master-disciple relationship is over. You don't believe me, do you? Ruo Qiange said lightly. It's not that we don't believe you. What kind of person is the witch of the ancient world? She never shows up. Even I find it difficult to see her. So Zhang Chen, an ordinary monk, can meet her. Even if we meet, why do we have friendship? Zhang Chen can help her. What? It's worth the witch's deliberate efforts to set up a trap. If your words aren't full of loopholes, how could I not believe you? Yi Qingshui couldn't hide her disappointment in her soft tone, and it took her a long time to finish such a long paragraph. Ruo Qiange also felt a little pained when she heard what the other party said. Why is this? Of course it's because Zhang Chen is the protagonist, cave mansion, the fairy, the empress, the fairy, the cave mansion, and so on, all of which are delivered to your door. Master, don't you think there is something strange about Zhang Chen's injury this time? Why would people from the demon sect take a fancy to him? Moreover, he did not kill him, but purposefully destroyed his body. If he wanted to survive, he must have a supreme bone to nourish his limbs and bones. And I happen to have two of them. It would be okay to take out one. The question is, don't you think it's a bit of a coincidence? They just want to secretly destroy one of my root bones without getting into trouble with my clan, so that I can no longer pose a threat to them. Ruo Qiange simply sorted out her thoughts and spoke out this long paragraph. The reason why he explained so much was because he wanted to see if these heroines were really that outrageous. He didn't want to wrongly blame any good person. Gare. What are you talking about? Looking at Ruo Qiange with a stern look on his face, Yi Qingshe's frown deepened. She was a little worried. Could this child be insane? Could he be so imaginative, or was he pretending on purpose? In order not to have to sacrifice his bones? That's right, senior brother Qian. What are you talking about? How could brother Zhang Chen be such a person? Junior sister Su Rui felt a little unhappy when she heard this. You don't believe me either? Ruo Qiange glanced at Su Rui lightly. She was the one who hurt the original owner the most in the past. She didn't expect that this white-eyed wolf didn't believe in her. No wonder the original owner would turn black later. Thinking of the original owner, Ruo Qiange felt uncomfortable for a while. He was filial to his master and never forgot the kindness of adoption. Although it was small, he always silently repaid Yi Qingshui for his kindness. Later, because he lost a root bone and his potential was not as good as that of Zhang Chen, he gradually began to neglect him, put more thoughts on Zhang Chen. She practiced together with her senior sister to subjugate demons and spent the most time together. Ruo Qiange had a heavy bond with her, and she also attached great importance to this relationship and was prepared to sacrifice her life for each other. However, in the middle and later stages of the plot, her senior sister planted the two of them together since they were young. The fairy flowers that were carefully taken care of every day were given to Zhang Chen to improve his cultivation. The last one is even more outrageous. If Qiange has been fulfilling his duties as a senior brother, loving his junior sister, and standing up for her no matter what happens, Su Rui turns out to be a white-eyed wolf, breaking Zhang Chen's heart, accelerating the process of darkening. Although the relationship between Ruo Qiange and Su Rui is not as good as the other two, but if we want to talk about who helped Ruo Qiange the most in his darkening, this white-eyed wolf who is full of tea will definitely get the first credit. She is the lowest among the three lower-class girls. You don't believe me, do you? Ruo Qiange said lightly. Well, it's too fake. Leng Huaning nodded. Okay, so you all think that I am selfish and will not save you for the sake of my own path, right? Ruo Qiange said again. Yes, if senior brother Qian wants to prove it to us, then take out the bones. Su Rui nodded. When Yi Qingshui heard this, she shook her head in disappointment and turned her head away from looking at Ruo Qiange to prevent herself from being so sad. Apparently she thought so too. Master, aren't you willing to even investigate and give your disciple a chance to be innocent? Ruo Qiange looked at Yi Qingshui, who had her eyes closed. No need. Yi Qingshui still had her eyes closed, and her soft voice had a hint of coldness. The ancient world is very powerful. Zhang Chen will be a corpse after I find out the results of the investigation. Even if what you said is a lie, there is still why is it necessary to cross bones? If you really mean it, why don't you hand over the bones first, and I will investigate afterwards? Afterwards, Zhang Chen lost his life and the witch no longer had any worries. Does Master think he has the ability to find out? Ruo Qiange smiled coldly. Do you have the ability? Don't worry about it, senior sister. I really have grievances in my heart. We grew up together, and you know my character best. Ruo Qiange looked at Leng Huaning again. Knowing people and knowing their faces but not their hearts, people will change. I am no longer the ignorant little girl back then, and you are not the passionate young man who shouted to protect my senior sister every day. How do I know whether you are good or evil now? Leng Huaning's girlish voice, which should have been gentle and crisp, was extremely dull at this time. The two children back then are no longer here. Now you are you and I am me. If we don't remember the past, our past friendship will no longer be the same. Connection. It's true, people will change. You are you now, and I am me. There is no connection between us and the past friendship. Please remember this sentence. Ruo Qiange no longer had any hope for these women and looked at Leng Huaning with a sneer. I hope you won't regret it in the future. For some reason, Leng Huaning didn't dare to look into Ruo Qiange's cold eyes. She lowered her head and grabbed her left wrist with her right hand uneasily. What's going on? Even though I don't believe it, Ruo Qiange feels such an uncomfortable feeling in her heart. Seeing this scene, Yi Qingshui couldn't help but feel a little distressed. After all, she felt a little uncomfortable looking at the child who had grown up. But if you can't bear it, you can't bear it. If you make a mistake, you are wrong. Yi Qingshui will not comfort Ruo Qiange with words. What her apprentice said really made her sad. Since you don't believe me, then I will prove it to you. Ruo Qiange stretched out both hands and stabbed her chest hard, and the sound of cracking ribs instantly sounded in the field. Ruo Qiange's hands stabbed into her chest. What are you doing? Yi Qingshui covered her mouth and looked at Ruo Qiange's bloody chest, with a hint of distress in her eyes. Seeing this scene, Ruo Qiange didn't reply, but she sneered in her heart. Does it hurt? There is something that will make you even more distressed later. Let you all do this to me. Finally, Ruo Qiange pulled hard with both hands and got out of his chest. At the same time, he vomited a large mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. If there are two more cylindrical bones glowing with golden light and red light respectively in Ruochen Singer, they are about as thick as a wrist, and the whole body is releasing powerful pressure. Golden fairy energy and red fairy energy are continuously released from the bones. Gives everyone a divine feeling. These two bones are undoubtedly the supreme bone. The one shining golden is the Emperor Dragon Bone, and the one shining red is the ancient beast Phoenix Bone. It is engraved with dense ancient Taoist inscriptions, which looks mysterious and simple. Since you think I am unwilling to hand over the supreme bone for the sake of the road, then I will destroy these two supreme bones together, so that I will become a useless person. Ruo Qiange sighed, with a look of determination in his eyes. The girls were stunned when they heard this. Leng Huaning reacted in advance and said with a sneer, Junior brother Qian, please stop being angry and just say it if you don't want to have sex. Why use such a bitter trick? In Leng Huaning's opinion, this must be a trick staged by Ruo Qiange, hoping to make the master and himself soft-hearted and stop him, and then he would go down the slope. After all, who would really be stupid enough to destroy his two supreme bones and give up the opportunity to stand at the top of the world? Silly boy, have you lived together for so long, wouldn't senior sister know what you were thinking? Ruo Qiange ignored Leng Ninghua and continued to sigh. Since I was a child, I have always regarded family ties as the most important thing. I have worked hard to cultivate to be able to protect my master, senior sister, and junior sister, but now there is no one among you. If you trust me, then your cultivation will be ruined. After Ruo Qiange finished speaking, a look of indifference rose in her eyes, and two green flames emerged in her hands, beginning to erode the two supreme bones, one gold and one red. The supreme bone began to dim under the erosion of the flames. But Leng Huaning didn't take it seriously. As long as the damage to the supreme bone was not too serious, it could be repaired slowly. This must be because Ruo Qiange was stalling for time, waiting for himself and his master to persuade him. But looking at Ruo Qiange's face full of exhaustion and the cold sweat constantly seeping out from her forehead, Leng Huaning didn't know why she felt an inexplicable uncomfortable feeling in her heart. As supreme bone melted, the fatigue on Ruo Qiange's face became more and more serious. Although the supreme bone was taken out by violent means, it is still connected to Waka Chica's body, so when the supreme bone is injured, Waka Chica will suffer backlash. Supreme bone is a special type of immortal bone, which is the most precious treasure in heaven and earth. As Ruo Qiange's identity as the master and his cultivation level, it will take about one stick of incense to burn the supreme bone to ashes. After all, Yi Qingshui couldn't bear to see this scene. The friendship accumulated between master and disciple in the past could not be forgotten so easily. The reason why Ruo Qiange was asked to hand over one of the root bone heads to donate to Zhongchen was because she could not just watch her apprentice die in front of her and do nothing. If it was her who had two root bones, she would definitely use them to save her apprentice's life without hesitation, even if it was just one. And now, if Qian Zhe doesn't want to, then let him do what he wants. He wanted to step forward to stop Ruo Qiange, but was stopped by junior sister Su Rui. Master, please don't. He is just pretending for his own selfish desires. Master must not fulfill his wish. Su Rui shook her head. Bitter meat tactic. Yi Qingshui murmured to herself, smiling mockingly. I didn't expect you to reach this point of using the bitter meat tactic. Why is it so? Master will not force you to stay. Just come down and leave. Yi Qingshui was in an extremely uncomfortable mood. Why did Ruo Qiange act like a different person? In the past, she served her master with tea and water, did housework for her senior sisters and junior sisters, and was the first to step forward when encountering major life or death matters. Now he became so selfish that he actually staged a cruel trick to deal with her. At important moments, I will speed up the decomposition speed of Supreme Bone for the host to avoid interference from others. By the time the two Supreme Bones had melted to about half, Wakachika's face had become extremely pale, her body was shaky and she would fall down at any time. You win. Yi Qingshui sighed, she could not bear to see her apprentice suffer such torture. She had to take the initiative to interrupt Ruo Qiange, otherwise Supreme Bone would be destroyed. Yi Qingshui walked slowly towards Ruo Qiange and said, even if you do this, I still won't believe you. The relationship between master and disciple is over. Let's go down the mountain after rescuing you. With two Supreme Bones, you will definitely have a bright future. Wu Liang, from now on you go to your Yangguan Great Dao, and I'll cross my single plank bridge. She was already extremely disappointed with Ruo Qiange. If Ruo Qiange really didn't want these two root bones, why would he slowly burn them in front of her? She knew she wouldn't be able to bear it. Then there is only one possibility. If Qiange does this, it may only be a cruel trick. Therefore, what Ruo Qiange did not only failed to make Yi Qingshui believe in herself, but actually disappointed her a bit. Su Rui couldn't help but clicked her tongue. With her intelligence, she had already seen that this was Ruo Qiange's trick. After all, she had often used this trick in front of Ruo Qiange before. It was effective and could achieve the goal every time. Own purpose. But what Su Rui didn't know was that Ruo Qiange had already noticed that it was a trick, and it was just because Ruo Qiange doted on her that she deliberately pretended not to be able to tell. Even Leng Huaning couldn't help but shake her head when she saw Ruo Qiange's miserable appearance. Is this the same junior brother Qian she knew before? It's disgusting to perform such a cruel trick. Sure enough, people will change. She was never as innocent as before. He was never as kind as before. Yi Qingshui had already walked in front of Ruo Qiange, but just when everyone thought that Ruo Qiange's two Supreme Bones could be saved, they turned into ashes and disappeared in an instant. Yi Qingshui. Before she could react, Ruo Qiange spit out a large mouthful of blood, her vision went black, and her body fell heavily to the ground. Losing two Supreme Bones at the same time, the backlash is really too great. Yi Qingshui's face was covered with the hot blood spurted by Ruo Qiange, and her whole person fell into a sluggish state for a moment. What's going on? Why did Supreme Bones suddenly disappear? It shouldn't be. Leng Huaning and Su Rui also ran to Yi Qingshui's side at this time, and looked at the master's shocked look and fell into deep thought. The two Supreme Bones are really gone. From now on, if Qiange is not to be called the #1 Supreme in the world, even the #1 genius in the sect, it will be hard for him to be. If Qiange said he doesn't care about the path, it is not a lie or a lie. This may be senior brother Qian's trick. Master, please check carefully and don't blame any of senior brother Qian and senior brother Zhang. Su Rui quickly figured out the reason and whispered to Yi Qingshui. She has always judged people very accurately. This must be senior brother Qian's trick. She has to resort to tricks to achieve even a small goal. How could anyone in the world really destroy their two Supreme Bones and ruin their future? So this must be senior brother Qian lying and slandering senior brother Yang's character. Yi Qingshui did not speak, but squatted down and carefully picked up Ruo Qiange's bloodstained head. She stretched out her white jade hand and gently stroked his chest to check for breath. Her face suddenly turned pale, her mouth trembled for a long time and she couldn't speak. After a while, she covered her face, and tears kept washing over her white face. The chin seemed to wash away the invisible dirt. We wrongly blamed Qiange. Leng Huaning was also in disbelief for a moment. She just stood there blankly, her eyes fixed on Ruo Qiange who was lying in Yi Qingshui's arms, but her brain was confused. I fell into a state of panic and couldn't think. If Qiange really lost two Supreme Bones, her body was severely damaged, and her cultivation level dropped by 3 levels. The genius she once was no longer exists and she became a useless person. Leng Huaning couldn't help but cover her mouth when she heard this. It's really, it's true. None of this was staged. A feeling of self-blame suddenly surged into her heart. Su Rui also opened her mouth in disbelief, but when she came back to her senses, she still asked reluctantly, "Master, are you sure you are not mistaken?" "How could Master make a mistake? We did misunderstand Qian Jie. The facts are right in front of you, how could anything go wrong? If you still think it was a mistake, then she was the one who really made the mistake." Leng Huaning sighed, her tone was trembling when she said this, and she couldn't help but shed tears from the corners of her eyes. She wrongly blamed Ruo Qiange. He seemed the same as before. And the person who is really different from before is her. It's her, Leng Huaning. They have an intimate relationship with each other. She should choose to trust Ruo Qiange without any reservation, instead of like now. Realm divisions. Qi refining, foundation building, spiritual realm, spiritual general, Daohe, soul formation, divine sovereign, semi-immortal, sealed immortal, earth immortal, celestial immortal, immortal ancestor, immortal emperor. We really misunderstood senior brother Qian. Su Rui opened her mouth and looked at Ruo Qiange in Yi Qingshe's arms with disbelief. Gare lost 2 supreme bones in an instant. Her body couldn't bear it, and her level dropped from divine sovereign to spirit general, and she became an ordinary person. Yi Qingshui smoothed Ruo Qiange's blood-stained hair and looked at his face with dull eyes. The expression in the eyes filled with tears was full of complexity, but it was certain that there was sadness and distress. What she said was like he was explaining to Su Rui and Leng Huaning, but it seemed more like he was talking to himself. She shouldn't not believe in the child she watched grow up, shouldn't. She wanted to ask herself, what happened to herself? Why did she do this today? Congratulations to the host for completing the phased mission. The reward for the novice gift package, True Dragon and Phoenix Double Supreme Bone, has been temporarily stored in the system space taking into account the host's condition. So, what senior brother Qian said is true. Su Rui's voice was as soft as a mosquito. Well, it must be true. We didn't believe junior brother Qian before. He was too disappointed in us, so he used such extreme means to prove his innocence. Leng Huaning sighed. If Ruo Qiange was still awake at this time, she would definitely not be able to help but sneer in her heart. If you think too much, will I destroy my own future for you skeletons who don't know what is right and wrong? Ridiculous. He is purely for his own benefit, and will not wrong himself just to prove anything to others. Congratulations to the host for successfully making the heroines suspicious of Zhang Chen. He robbed the other party of 1,000 plus 1,500 plus 20 luck points, which have been converted into the same amount of revenge points. This luck is the heroine's trust in Zhang Chen. Reduced trust will have an impact on Zhang Chen's cheating journey that should have been smooth sailing. The system's luck addition and subtraction also has a sequence. According to Yi Qingshui, Leng Huaning, and Su Rui in order from largest to smallest. Do you think it's possible that senior brother Qian was deceived by others and misunderstood junior brother Zhang? We have been with senior brother Zhang for a long time. Would he team up with a witch to do something like this? What's more, it's quite ridiculous. Su Rui looked worriedly at the pale man lying on the wooden bed and said, Senior brother Qian is not as injured as senior brother Zhang. We should focus on senior brother Zhang, who is in danger of life. She felt that what she said was very reasonable. Although they owed Ruo Qiange a lot, they should not be motivated by it. Instead, the focus should be on Zhang Chen, whose life is in danger. After all, if Qian Jie loses the supreme bone, what will happen no matter how serious the injury is? He will not die. Anyway, it is a foregone conclusion that they are all useless. And Zhang Chen can still be saved, so they can't delay taking care of Zhang Chen because of Ruo Qiange. Presumably senior brother Qian, who has always been kind, doesn't want to see us kill senior brother Zhang because of his affairs, so we have to follow his wishes. Su Rui analyzed. You guys take care of Zhang Chen. I'll go heal Gear's body. Yi Qingshui held Ruo Qiange's body in her arms just like she did when she was a child, slowly walked out of the yard and walked towards the mountain. Well, junior sister Su, I will ask you to take care of junior brother Zhang. I think it is better to follow master and keep an eye on junior brother Qian's condition. After leaving these words, Leng Huaning turned around and trotted to catch up with Yi Qingshui, leaving Su Rui alone and messy in the wind. Su Rui somehow had an urge in her heart to follow. However, she calmed down quickly. Now that Zhang Chen was alone with her, She definitely couldn't leave at will. Senior brother Qian, I'm sorry. Sister Su has to put the overall situation first. I can't stay with you. Su Rui sighed, wiped away the sad tears from the corners of her eyes, and then revealed a firm look in her eyes. Presumably what I do, junior sister, is also what you want in your heart. Master, senior sister, it's true that she doesn't do things according to your wishes. On the mountain, the Yaoling Holy Pool is the exclusive holy pool of Elder Yi, one of the 12 elders of the Ziyang sect. Other disciples are not allowed to enter privately. At this time, Ruo Qianzhi was lying half naked in the pool to heal her body, while Yi Qingshui and Leng Huaying watched from the side. Master. Junior brother Qian, will he be fine? Leng Huaning raised her head and looked at her master with a sad look on her face. Yi Qingshui put away the thoughts in her heart and showed a wry smile. He is fine, but his injury this time has shaken his foundation. In the future, he may not be able to defeat you, and even Zhang Chen who comes from behind will not be able to defeat you. Can't compare to. I'm only half a step into the soul formation realm. Junior brother Qian could defeat me with just one move before. Isn't it as serious as Master said? Leng Huaning asked cautiously. Sigh. He is now nearly 2 realms lower than you. Before, you were only 1 realm behind him. Now the gap between him and you is much wider. Gare may not even be able to overwhelm you. Halfway through her words, Yi Qingshui couldn't bear to continue and slowly closed her eyes. Thinking that Ruo Qianzhi had become a useless person because of her distrust, she couldn't help but shed tears again from the corners of her eyes. Ruo Qianzhi's years of hard work were ruined by his most trusted master. Junior brother, we only have the spirit general realm. Leng Huaning's consciousness began to feel a little dazed. Ruo Qianzhi's cultivation level at the age of 16 this year is the divine sovereign realm, and the spirit general realm has been successfully cultivated when he was 7 years old. This means that Ruo Qianzhi's current combat power is equivalent to that of when he was 7 years old, and even his 7-year-old self couldn't beat him. After all, he had 2 supreme bones at that time. It is conservatively estimated that Ruo Qianzhi can only beat her 5-year-old self. Leng Huaning is a person who puts strength first, so when Ruo Qianzhi said, the situation between the witch and Zhang Chen, just now, if the content in the words was not so ridiculous, she might still believe it, but it was really ridiculous. How could a mortal like Zhang Chen get acquainted with the famous witch from the ancient world? Even if he knew the witch, why would he waste his energy setting up a trap for him? What are you planning? So from that moment on, Leng Huaning was sure that Ruo Qianzhi was no longer the Ruo Qianzhi she knew when she was a child. Leng Huaning's character is half mature and half immature. Through her years of travel experience, she can clearly understand that Taoist will change. The immaturity of her lies in forgetting the heaviest emotion in her heart. She doesn't understand what kind of emotions she feels for Ruo Qianzhi deep in her heart. It's like a person, only after discovering that another person has left does he realize how good he is, and then realizes that the person he loves the most in his heart is him, and what a big mistake he has made. She was wrong. Very wrong. So, Master, how do you think Zhang Chen's matter should be handled? Leng Huaning calmed down a little, but her tone was still trembling. Because of her debt to Ruo Qianzhi, Leng Huaning didn't even want to call Zhang Chen his junior brother. After thinking for a while, Yi Qingshui slowly spoke. Although Gear's words are very outrageous and unbelievable, he did it at the expense of his own path. Therefore, we must not jump to conclusions on this matter. It's better to investigate in depth and get enough evidence. Well, that's my trouble, Master. I must give justice to junior brother Qian. Leng Huaning cupped her hand. I treat Zhang Chen and Qian Zhe as my own children and will not favor anyone. Yi Qingshui sighed and said slowly. She devoted herself to Taoism and is still unmarried. Due to some reasons, she came to Ziyang sect to become an elder. She took in some direct disciples and took care of them as children. Just then a groan sounded. Yi Qingshui and Leng Huaning looked at the source of the sound at the same time, and saw Ruo Qianzhi stretching her arms and yawning. When they woke up, they didn't care that they were still wearing skirts. Their white jade feet fell directly into the water and trotted towards Ruo Qianzhi. Mad, my whole body hurts and feels so tired, it feels like my waist has been pinched. Ruo Qianzhi sat up from the jade platform in the water, cursing as she felt the pain and weakness coming from her body. Gare, are you okay? Yi Qingshui came to Ruo Qianzhi, stretched out her white onion-like hand to touch Ruo Qianzhi's face, and looked at him up and down with a worried look. Ruo Qianzhi knocked off Yi Qingshui's hand without emotion, and said expressionlessly, "Haha, of course it's okay." Yi Qingshui was stunned when she heard this, and then her eyes dimmed instantly. Her words were obviously asking too much. From a person who was destined to stand at the top of the world to a useless person, how could everything be okay? "Gare, are you feeling much better now?" Knowing that her apprentice was still angry with her, Yi Qingshui took her hand back and said with a smile, "Well, it is indeed much better. I have lost my ultimate goal and arrogant capital, and I no longer have to work hard to practice in the future." Ruo Qianzhi nodded lightly. "Gare, this matter is indeed all master's fault." Looking at Ruo Qianzhi with an indifferent expression, Yi Qingshui felt an uncomfortable feeling in her heart. Although she did do something wrong. But have you forgotten the kindness you gave her when she was a child? And the destruction of the bones was not the result she wanted to see, so why is it all her fault? One of the things that made Yi Qingshui feel aggrieved was that if Ruo Qianzhi was unwilling to give up a supreme bone, then the kindness between master and apprentice over the years would be cut off. This punishment would not be big. Yi Qingshui did not make things difficult for him, and even in this way, Ruo Qianzhi no longer needs to repay master's kindness, and Yi Qingshui really doesn't feel that she has done anything wrong. The second place where she felt aggrieved was that she had been watching Yi Qingshui closely during the process of destroying the supreme bone, and she also persuaded Ruo Qianzhi to give up destroying the bone from time to time. When the supreme bone was half gone, she couldn't help but stand up and think, "I wanted to stop it, but I didn't expect that the remaining half of supreme bone would disappear in an instant." The reason why Ruo Qianzhi hates her master is also very simple, that is, what these women in the story did to the original master of Ruo Qianzhi was too much. Of course, there is a process to this excess. It is only the early stage of the story now, so these female protagonists seem to be relatively normal. After being affected by Zhang Chen's dual halo of intelligence and charm for a long time, the things they do will become more and more strange. More and more outrageous. Take senior sister Lang as an example. She seems to be the most normal among the three heroines, right? But later, for Zhang Chen, he gave Zhang Chen the fairy flower that he and Ruo Qianzhi planted together when they were children. That flower was grown up by Ruo Qianzhi and Lang Huaning with careful care every day when they were children, and it carried many beautiful things in their childhood. The memories took up at least 1/3 of the time the two of them spent together as children. Giving away something with such a strong symbolic meaning can only be said to be outrageous. So if Qianzhi hates these female protagonists, he doesn't really believe that Zhang Chen really has an aura of wisdom. What's the matter? The IQs of the three of you have been lowered. How can so many people in the sect be okay? The host's perception is wrong. Although Zhang Chen does not have the so-called wisdom-reducing aura, due to his destiny, he does have characteristics that can attract outstanding female cultivators, female protagonists. But most of the time he only for female protagonists. "Can you leave? I want to be alone for a while." Ruo Qianzhi sighed with a tired face. "Master won't leave." Yi Qingshui suddenly grabbed Ruo Qianzhi's hand and said with a tender face, "Master is wrong about this matter. Master should not listen to you. I will personally investigate what you said. As for you losing your temper, my teacher doesn't mind." Yi Qingshui quickly figured out that this incident was more about her. It was normal for Qianzhi to be so angry if she lost both bones. "Oh, so you're not leaving, right?" Ruo Qianzhi only heard the words Yi Qingshui said that she would not leave. "Well, my teacher will stay here to take care of Gare." Yi Qingshui tilted her head and smiled. The fairy's charming smile was nothing more than that. If Qianzhi didn't know the other party, he would definitely be as fascinated as Brother Zhu, but at this time, he would only feel disgusted. "Okay, you're not going, right? Then I'm going." Ruo Qianzhi gritted her teeth as she spoke, endured the severe pain in her body and stood up directly, walking out of the pool. "You are not allowed to leave." Yi Qingshui was a little anxious. How could Ruo Qianzhi leave the healing pool if she was so seriously injured? Yi Qingshui directly grabbed the flesh on Ruo Qianzhi's shoulder from behind. "Haha, if you don't let me go, then I will die here and give you my life." Ruo Qianzhi ignored Yi Qingshui at all and continued to walk forward. Regardless of the flesh on her shoulders that was being pulled, she took a big step forward with great force, and a piece of flesh on her shoulders was pulled off. Ruo Qianzhi continued to walk forward as if she didn't feel any pain. Yi Qingshui looked at the bloody flesh on her hands and was stunned for a moment. She doesn't understand what she did wrong. A tear fell into the pool. You have to go away with such a serious injury. Do you hate being a teacher so much? Yi Qingshui ran behind Ruo Qiange and hugged his back, with some sad tears in her eyes, not letting him move another step. Don't hate. Except for life. Everything I have is given by Master. I was an orphan on the verge of death. Master saved me, took me back to the sect and took care of me personally. I am very grateful to Master, and I also know that this unborn kindness will be difficult to repay in a lifetime. Ruo Qiange shook his head, not knowing why he felt a sense of discomfort in his heart as he spoke. Feeling, but he is obviously not Ruo Qiange. Why is it so strange? Ruo Qiange's expression was full of complexity. I have the supreme bone in my body, and countless people covet me. It is Master who has been protecting me despite the pressure from the outside world, and he will not hesitate to risk losing his life. This is my humble life. I am alive today entirely because of Master. If Master wants my life, he can take it back at any time. Please forgive me for wanting to live quietly alone. Ruo Qiange used all her strength to shake Yi Qingshui away and continued walking out of the pool. Although he said this for the original owner of Ruo Qiange, it came more from his heart. He wanted to say it, but he didn't know why. However, in order to prevent his blood from flowing out, Ruo Qiange still chose to endure the pain and press his hand on his shoulder, using his spiritual power to suppress the blood so that it would not flow out. Thousands of songs. Leng Waning's face looked a little unnatural, and when Ruo Qiange passed by her, she murmured something in a low voice, as quiet as a mosquito. Hearing Leng Waning's voice, Ruo Qiange paused and said without looking back, "A gentleman always keeps his word. Miss Leng must not forget what she has said." The tone is indifferent, like the coldness of Juyu. After saying this, Ruo Qiange raised her feet again, dragging her tired body, leaving this place with difficulty and walking down the mountain. The corners of Leng Waning's mouth trembled. She seemed to realize that she had made a very serious mistake. She wanted to say something but couldn't. Let him go. Gier's physical condition is such that she can no longer get angry. Yi Qingshui wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, sniffed and choked. If Qian Ji's injury has been stabilized by her, it is actually just a little weak, so this is why Yi Qingshui did not insist on stopping him. If she insisted on blocking him, it would only cause him to suffer more serious injuries. Ruo Qiange walked down the mountain step by step. Although he was Yi Qingshui's disciple, he lived at the foot of the mountain. This was the place where he lived when he first came to the sect, because the original owner of Ruo Qiange had an interest in this house. Because of my love, I didn't choose to move to the mountains. However, although they live at the foot of the mountain, they have been expanded according to the specifications of the direct disciples. The yard area has been increased by about 5 or 6 times. Ruo Qiange pushed open the courtyard door, and what he saw was a medicine garden. Next to the medicine garden was a shed with various animals. Next to the shed was the toilet, and the house was right next to the medicine garden. Directly opposite the garden, there is a road in the middle. Of course, there are still many facilities here, so I won't mention them one by one. Ruo Qiange did not rush towards the house, but continued walking on the great dao in the middle and came to the deepest part. There was a small garden on the deepest side of the house. There are various kinds of flowers planted here for people to enjoy. Although the flowers were beautiful and in full bloom, they still dimmed under the tallest and most beautiful white fairy flower in the middle. The fairy flowers are spotless, as pure as fairies from heaven and earth, and have a charming fragrance that makes people unable to help but be intoxicated. A memory quickly appeared in Ruo Qiange's mind. When you were 3 years old, you were picked up by Yi Qingshui and brought back to the sect. At the age of 5, Yi Qingshui used a secret method to detect the 2 sealed supreme bones in your body. After removing the seal, she accepted you as her disciple. From then on, her path to immortality progressed smoothly. When you were 5.5 years old, you met Leng Huaning, who was 6 years old, under the leadership of your master. You quickly became involved with her, who once practiced alone, eating together, sleeping together, and practicing together. During those days, I remember it very clearly, it was a happy period in your life. When you were 6 years old, Master brought you a rare fairy flower. You and Leng Huaning agreed to plant the flower together and take care of it and grow it up together. In this way, you will find time to take care of the fairy flower every day. The fairy flower is so healthy. Until you were 12 years old, Zhang Chen and Su Rui arrived one after another, and Leng Huaning neglected the care of Xianhua because of her cultivation. Ruo Qianzhi finally understood why Leng Huaning was the more normal of the three heroines. It turned out that she and the original heroine Ruo Qianzhi once had such a deep relationship. However, Leng Huaning still determined to punish Ruo Qianzhi justly. Thinking of this, Ruo Qianzhi stepped directly into the thousands of flowers, came to the fairy flower in the middle, and looked up and down. There are 9 white fairy flowers growing on the fairy grass, which are very beautiful. Ruo Qianzhi was in trouble for a moment. There are 9 flowers, how should we divide the extra one? Ruo Qianzhi quickly thought of a solution, directly uprooting the entire flower and dividing the entire fairy flower into 2 halves, with 4 flowers on one side and 5 on the other. Ruo Qianzhi took out a cold jade box from the spiritual ring and put the 5 flowers on the other side into it. He is a very generous person and gave the extra flower to Leng Huaning. Since neither of them wants to grow flowers, they might as well just split the relationship equally and completely sever the relationship. Looking at the fairy flower with powerful life force in her hand, Ruo Qianzhi couldn't help but murmured. Master said that this is one of the few fairy grass that she has found after wandering in the outside world for many years. And this flower also has the effect of healing the body, must be very powerful, right? When Ruo Qianzhi was about to put the fairy flower in her mouth, she suddenly remembered that this flower was once planted with Leng Huaning, and she suddenly didn't know why she didn't want to eat it. Forget it, let's feed the dog. Ruo Qianzhi could only sigh helplessly, remembering that she also had a 3-headed dog, and walked towards the wooden shed. Although the wooden shed is made of wood, it is not ordinary wood, but Hengling wood specially planted in the sect. The toughness of this wood can be 5 to 6 times that of ordinary wood. Although it is not as hard as stone, it is soft, overcomes hardness, and can withstand twice the force of ordinary stones. There is no problem in using it for living. Ruo Qianzhi walked outside a shed, stuck her head into the fence gate, and saw a big black dog with 3 heads. The dog is more than half a meter tall and almost 1.5 meters long. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a wolf. At this time, it is lying on the ground, with all 3 heads squinting, as if it is sleeping. Dahe, your bully is back, Ruo Qianzhi said, feeling a little speechless at the same time. The original owner was too bad at naming, right? 3 big dogs with such domineering heads gave such an unqualified name. Woof woof woof, woof woof woof, woof woof woof. Suddenly, Dahe's 3 heads woke up almost at the same time, shouting excitedly at Ruo Qianzhi. Look what I brought you. Ruo Qianzhi waved the fairy grass in front of Dahe, but the head in the middle of Dahe was grabbed by Dahe after just a few shakes. The next second, the remaining 2 heads immediately started fighting with the middle head. Seeing this scene, Ruo Qianzhi felt a little hurt. Don't you 3 heads share the same stomach? Everyone eats the same, right? Ruo Qianzhi was too lazy to stay any longer and turned around and walked towards the house. He was too tired and it was time to rest. Half a day later, Yi Qingshui had already left Shuijin Peak. She believed in her apprentice and wanted to find evidence. Ruo Qianzhi naturally got such news from a passing disciple, but he didn't catch it coldly. After all, saying and doing are 2 different things. Who knows if Yi Qingshui will have the idea of covering Zhang Chen. As for Leng Huaning, he originally wanted to come to the courtyard to take care of Ruo Qianzhi, but after careful consideration, he resisted such an idea. Instead, he came to Zhang Chen's courtyard to take care of Zhang Chen with Su Rui. Leng Huaning did this not because she cared about Zhang Chen, but because she thought that Ruo Qianzhi's physical condition was not suitable for anger at this time, so she did not go to him. As for Ruo Qianzhi's self-destruction of 2 supreme bones, the news naturally spread in the 12 main peaks and side mountains of Ziyang sect. Within half a day, everyone among the 3,000 disciples knew about it. What? Senior brother Qian destroyed his supreme bone, and there are 2 of them, then doesn't he turn from a proud man to a waste? What happened? You don't know, I am one of the disciples of Shui Jianfeng. I witnessed the whole process outside the courtyard of junior brother Zhang Chen. Let me tell you in detail. Ah, is this happening? Why are these senior and junior sisters going so far? They have been encouraging senior brother Qian to destroy supreme bone. It's a pity that senior brother Qian is such a good person. He even saved my life from the mouth of a demon tiger. Yes, I was seriously injured at that time, and he even gave me a precious medicinal herb for free. I think senior sister and junior sister thought that senior brother Qian was joking. The person who did this most inappropriately was Peak Master Yi Qingshui. As an elder, she actually watched Ruo Qiange melt 2 supreme bones. The most heartless one is Su Rui. I saw with my own eyes at that time that senior sister Leng and elder Yi ran to take care of senior brother Qian. She was the only one who didn't go. It was in vain that senior brother Qian loved her so much. In this way, everyone kept talking about this matter. Halfway up the snow sword peak, Su Rui, who was wiping Zhang Chen's cold sweat, suddenly felt an unpleasant feeling in her heart. The master of Snow Sword Peak is Yi Qingshui, who has 4 direct disciples, namely Leng Huaning, Ruo Qiange, Zhang Chen, and Su Rui. Leng Huaning and Su Rui lived with their master, that is, on the top of the peak, while Zhang Chen lived halfway up the mountain near Ruo Qiange, and Ruo Qiange lived at the bottom of the peak. If Qian Zhe was sitting in the courtyard, many disciples would come to visit him. Senior brother Qian, why do you insist on destroying Supreme Bone? This sentence has the most similarities among all the questions. Whenever someone asked this question, Ruo Qiange just replied calmly, I have been practicing hard since I was a child to protect the relatives around me. I never wanted to be a genius, but the people closest to me don't believe in me. So this whole body there is no use in cultivating yourself. Ruo Qiange did not lie, but the original owner did have this idea. He worked hard to cultivate not for himself, but just to protect his relatives. This sentence was said very plainly, but everyone could hear helplessness and chilling in it. Everyone can see senior brother Qian's character. We believe in senior brother Qian, and we will help senior brother Qian get rid of this bad breath. We won't disturb senior brother Qian's rest. After leaving these words, the disciples did not stay any longer and left Ruo Qiange's courtyard one after another. If Qiange didn't stop them, he would be quite happy if these disciples could help him deal with the heroines, not to mention that he has awakened a revenge system. He just wants to collect revenge points. Fortunately, Ruo Qiange has been in the sect for more than 10 years and has done many good deeds. Fortunately, these disciples are quite discerning, unlike the people closest to me. Ruo Qiange murmured to himself. There are 3,000 people in the sect, and he has directly helped at least 1,000 people, and the other 2,000 people have been helped indirectly. The disciples of the sect have sharp eyes, and they can clearly see what kind of person Ruo Qiange is. In other words, those few heaven-defying heroines succumbed to the various methods of emotional alienation used by the witches in the ancient world. If Qiange won't pity them, if he pities them, then who will pity the original owner Ruaokang, who was forced by the 3 heroines to turn into a villain and was righteously judged by the 4 of them? Halfway up the mountain, in Zhang Chen's room. At this time, Zhang Chen had been carried back to the room, lying on the bed, and woke up. The 2 girls around him were also a little happy to see this scene. I thought I was going to die, but I didn't expect to open my eyes and see you. Zhang Chen looked around at Leng Huaning and Su Rui and smiled bitterly. His face is cold and handsome, and his complexion is fair. He is a perfect template for the role of the Dragon King in a cool novel about pretending to be a slap in the face. Master gave you the Earth Vein spiritual root and the Vitality Pill, which temporarily saved your life. However, the symptoms are not cured. You still need to find high-level immortal bones at the heaven level to nourish and strengthen your body. Otherwise, the vitality in your body will only remain passing. Leng Waning's tone was extremely solemn, and after finishing speaking, she sighed heavily. Zhang Chen pondered for a while, then sighed and said with a wry smile, Immortal bones. Alas, these things are so easy to find. Although senior brother Qian has 2 supreme bones, he is definitely willing to give it to me, but how can I feel sorry for it? I'd rather just wait for death. Zhang Chen has been in a coma since he was seriously injured, and he doesn't know about Ruo Qiange's destruction of supreme bone. Su Rui felt a little uncomfortable when she heard this. She stood up and pursed her lips and said dissatisfiedly, Senior brother Zhang thinks highly of that person. Senior brother Qian is just a stingy, extremely selfish stingy. He would rather give up 2 penises. Even if supreme bone is destroyed, I won't give you one. Haha, I think he is afraid that after giving senior brother Zhang a supreme bone, his cultivation speed will not be as fast as senior brother Zhang. And then people in the sect and even the master will look down on him. People like him have a villain's heart. I know best how to control a gentleman's belly. Su Rui speculated, sneering again and again. What, Senior brother Qian destroyed 2 supreme bones. Zhang Chen's face suddenly turned ugly when he heard this. After a while, he came to his senses, and then he patted his head and said angrily, "It's all my fault. If nothing happened to me, senior brother Qian wouldn't have ruined the 2 lives. You have lost your immortal bones and ruined your own path." Seeing this scene, Su Rui felt a little distressed. She stroked Zhang Chen's hair and comforted her. "Senior brother Zhang, don't be sad for that little guy. People like him don't even listen to the words of the master who raised him since childhood. This shows his character." When Zhang Chen heard this, he stood up immediately, with anger in his eyes. He put his hands on Su Rui's body and shook her, and asked angrily, "Well, did you force senior brother Qian to lend me the supreme bone? What did you do? How can you do this?" On the side, Leng Wanying was slightly moved when she saw this scene. "I noticed that Zhang Chen received 500 luck points from Su Rui and 20 luck points from Leng Huaning. Please host, please have the intention of punishing Zhang Chen's evil people at all times, and never underestimate the enemy." Puff. In the courtyard, Ruo Qianj, who was leisurely drinking tea, heard the system prompt and spit out the tea in his mouth without holding back. "Ah. Even at this time, can you increase your luck? Mud. How deep is the poison in these idiot heroines? Or is it because Zhang Chenli's character design and acting are too good?" Ruo Qianj clapped her hands and couldn't help but admire. Zhang Chen, you can fight this kind of headwind situation so well and blind the eyes of a few idiot heroines, but what should you do with the anger of 3,000 disciples? How to deal with it? So what if I can really cope with it? I can still continue to harm myself according to the requirements of the system, and the situation will only become more and more unfavorable for you. Ruo Qianj couldn't help but feel a little funny when she thought of this. This awakening system is also weird enough. It has a weird feeling that it actually wants to harm itself. Of course, not only is it weird, but the most difficult thing for Ruo Qianj to accept is that it also hurts. Zhang Chen's courtyard. Ahem. Let me tell you one thing first. Qian Zhe said that you once met a witch from the ancient world. Is this true? Leng Huaning stared at Zhang Chen. Witch of the ancient world? I don't know her. Zhang Chen shook his head decisively. Although he knew the witch from the ancient world, he had promised the witch not to disclose the relationship between the two. Zhang Chen is a gentleman and will naturally keep his word. Qian Zhe also said that the witch set a trap for us. Leng Huaning said again. Oh, what game? Zhang Chen's curiosity was immediately aroused. Seeing Zhang Chen's curious look, Leng Huaning sighed immediately. If Zhang Chen really didn't know the witch, how could he be subconsciously curious after hearing the news about her? I sensed that Leng Huaning was disappointed in Zhang Chen, and her trust was slightly shaken. Zhang Chen's luck value was reduced by 150, which has been converted into revenge points. If Qianj opened his mouth, he was obviously in disbelief when he heard this. Leng Huaning has doubts about Zhang Chen. It seems like this is a good thing. It means that one of the 3 idiots is not so poisoned. But that's all, it doesn't shake his determination to collect revenge points. Leng Huaning quickly told Zhang Chen what happened today. Impossible, the witch and I have never met each other, how could she set up this trap just to help me? Zhang Chen shook his head. But although he was calm on the surface, there was still a huge wave in his heart. How could the witch let him do such a shameful thing? It was simply too much. Yes, if Qianj makes up a lie, I don't know how to make up a good one. Who is the witch of the ancient world? But the real Earth Immortal has a title. How can senior brother Zhang know her? Or even have friendship with her, woolen cloth? As Su Rui said this, she couldn't help but curl her lips. Her opinion of Ruo Qianj dropped a bit. She completely forgot that he was still seriously injured and felt that he deserved it. Just then there was a knock on the door. Open the door, open the door. Zhang Chen, you bitch, hurry up and open the door for me. Zhang Chen, you damn bastard, you actually united with the witches from the ancient world to set up a trap for our senior brother Qian. You are so shameless. Such curses and shouts continued continuously, and the 3 people in the room were a little confused. Ruo Qianj, a shameless person, actually brainwashed the disciples of the sect? Su Rui gritted her teeth, then looked at Zhang Chen and said with concern. Senior brother Zhang, please don't get angry. I'll go out and open the door to see what's going on. As a result, before they finished speaking, the door to the courtyard fell down with a bang. It was obvious that they couldn't help but break in without permission. Everyone came outside one after another, kicked open the door, and then a group of people rushed in aggressively, and soon the whole room was filled with people. Zhang Chen was immediately frightened by the menacing scene, and after reacting, he bowed his hands to everyone and said politely, "I wonder what important matters you are here for this time. I am not feeling well today. If you can't inconvenience your grandma's legs, it would be best for people like you to die." Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted. "Ha ha ha, well done, well done." Immediately there was a burst of praise. Originally, they were somewhat cautious when facing the direct disciples of Elder Yifeng, but after they became successful, they became more active. "Zhang Chen, you are really going too far, you even united with the ancient world." There were many reasonable voices in the field, but more people just yelled and cursed, because they felt that the only way to deal with a shameless person like Zhang Chen was to respond to violence with violence, and they should not give him a good look. "Asshole. Shameless. You bastard. Why are you scolding senior brother Zhang for no reason?" Su Rui finally couldn't help but stood up and looked at everyone in the field with angry eyes. Although there were at least 40 people crowded into the room, Su Rui was not afraid at all. Everyone was stunned for a moment when they saw Su Rui standing up menacingly. After reacting, the anger on their faces suddenly became more intense. "His grandma is a hammer. I was just busy scolding that bastard, but I forgot to call you a stinky bitch, right? Su Rui, when you first came here, you were not accepted as a direct disciple. Who protected you when you were bullied? At that time, everyone isolated you and no one played with you. Who took the time to play with you every day? If it's not senior brother Qian, is it your brother Zhang Chen? Where did your brother Zhang Chen go at that time?" "That's right, I still remember very clearly what happened before. Once when the sect training group was working together, Su Rui, a bad and stupid bastard, messed up the most crucial but simple step. It was senior brother Qian who carried it out for her. Damn it. Because such a small thing went wrong, senior brother Qian was imprisoned by his master for 3 months. And if it weren't for senior brother Qian, I wouldn't be on the same team as this bastard. But what did you do? Not only did you not stop him from destroying Supreme Bone, you even encouraged him. You are so stupid, telegram sound. You didn't even follow him to take care of him after he got into an accident, you, telegram sound. You heartless bitch. Get out of our Ziyang sect." Su Rui's face looked a little ugly after being scolded by this, and her face looked a little red from being scolded. Why doesn't she remember this? If it hadn't been brought up by everyone, she would have forgotten these old events. Su Rui's physique was a little strange, so she was alienated from the disciples after she came to the sect. Because she was not gregarious, no one was willing to play with her soon. Ruo Qiange was a little moved after hearing the news, so she would spend an hour or two every time to be with Su Rui and treat her as a friend sincerely. Ruo Qiange also tried to help her get along with others. After Ruo Qiange tried many methods, she finally made the people in the sect gradually accept Su Rui, and later treated her as a normal person. This was a miracle. I wonder if how much effort Qiange put in. In this way, Su Rui's low self-esteem and sensitive personality changed. She began to get along with others boldly, practice hard, and know how to ask people for advice. In addition, due to her special physique, she was quickly spotted by Yi Qingshui, and she was accepted as a disciple, with a promising future. If the time when she came to the sect was based on, Su Rui was nearly 4 years earlier than Zhang Chen, and during these 4 years, Ruo Qiange had been patiently accompanying her, allowing her to enter a normal life as soon as possible. Of course, Su Rui was very grateful to Ruo Qiange in the first year or two, but later she took it as a habit and happily accepted all the kindness Ruo Qiange did to her, thinking that this was what she should do. "What nonsense are you talking about? How can outsiders like you make irresponsible remarks about my relationship with senior brother Qian?" Su Rui's face turned red and she shouted loudly to stop everyone. Seeing that everyone had stopped, Su Rui thought that her words had an effect, and she suddenly felt much more at ease, and her blushing face gradually returned to normal. "I don't know, but this was a tacit understanding among everyone to give her a chance to repent. Look at how she should apologize." Because her words stopped everyone, Su Rui immediately put her hands on her chest arrogantly, curled her lips and said, "You idiots, if senior brother Qian dotes on me, he won't care about these illusory things. He will understand that I am looking out for the overall situation. Although he was seriously injured, there are 2 people around him to take care of him. But where is senior brother Zhang? He was injured more seriously than senior brother Qian, and there was no one around to take care of him. How could he do it? Senior brother Qian has been telling me not to act out of emotion, so I resisted the urge to take care of senior brother Qian and stayed with senior brother Zhang. After saying that, Su Rui took a few breaths. Looking at the dumbfounded people, she suddenly became a little proud and took advantage of the victory to pursue. So now you know what happened, right? Don't be so reckless in the future. Senior brother Qian didn't blame me. Why don't you think about this reason? But you are anxious first. You should leave quickly and don't disturb senior brother Yang's rest. You didn't expect to be so shameless. A young man in green had an extremely gloomy expression. Senior brother Qian just told us that you, Su Rui, are the one who has done the most extreme things among the three of you. The intention behind the words was to force him to sacrifice his bones. When he destroyed the supreme bone, he looked on coldly and did nothing when he fainted. How can such a heartless bitch say such a thing now? Another young man in black fanned the fan in his hand and said with a smile, "Do you know what senior brother Qian said about you? He said you were really disgusting and falsely accused him of jumping into the abyss and pulling you up step by step. He said that he should have kicked you more in the first place to make you sink deeper. You say I'm disgusting?" Su Rui was a little stunned for a moment. If Qian Zhe had always doted on her, even if he did something very excessive, he would just teach her patiently and would never scold her at all, let alone use such hurtful words as disgusting to describe her. It's not true, it must not be true, what are you talking about? Su Rui shook her head. If Qianzhe's temperament was clear to her, she would believe in herself even if she did something huge, and she would forgive herself if she made a huge mistake, let alone such a small thing. Su Rui felt relieved again when she thought about it. Everything was fake. It was definitely these people who were fooling her. Brothers, remember to stay away from this bastard if you see him in the future. We can't afford to offend him. A man pointed at Su Rui and said loudly, "That's right." Everyone nodded. Do you need to be so angry with me? Su Rui rolled her eyes at everyone. Because she knew these people were trying to scare her, her confidence immediately increased. Su Rui's playful mind was aroused. She raised her chin and smiled slightly. Ahem, who are you, my Qian senior brother? We are all people he helped, a young man spoke first. HMPH, Su Rui smiled lightly. Then you should not treat me like this, because I am the most beloved person of senior brother Qian. FK your mother, a strong, rough man couldn't help but scolded him. Don't rush to scold this woman. Let her tell her everything, so that our senior brother Qian can see through her true face. A smarter young man reminded the rough man, and the rough man nodded quickly and closed his mouth. And even if I made a mistake, I'm sorry to senior brother Qian, and I will go and apologize to him later. Does that have anything to do with you? Are you worthy of scolding me? Su Rui said lightly. What you did today is really chilling. I'm sorry that senior brother Qian has taken care of you all these years. A passionate young man couldn't bear it anymore and said loudly. I'm sorry for how he took care of me. Haha. Su Rui smiled. When she thought of Ruo Qianzhe's love for her, she relaxed and said, Am I the one who begged him to be so kind to me? What can I do if he wants to be so kind to me? You. What are you talking about? Well, am I wrong? Isn't this the truth? Su Rui rolled her eyes. Why do you think that you will gain something if you give to a person? What a shame. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the venue suddenly felt an inexplicable murderous intention. Although what Su Rui said was not a curse word, why were they so angry and unhappy after hearing it? Brothers, let's beat her up together. How about we all bear the blame together when the elders of the sect take the blame? A young man suggested. Okay, I agree. Me too. Everyone in the field quickly reached a unified voice. What are you going to do? Su Rui was immediately frightened and shrank her neck. I'm not doing anything, I just want to beat you up, a young man explained enthusiastically. Although Leng Huaning was dissatisfied with her junior sister's behavior, she still moved and stood in front of her. Don't hurt my junior sister. If something happens, wait until my master comes back to discuss it. Don't hurt my senior sister and junior sister. At this time, Zhang Chen also dragged his injured body and stood up, standing in front of the two women and spreading his arms. However, his body was trembling and crumbling, as if he was about to fall down at any time. Maybe if you accidentally touch it when you start, it will fall down. Haha, Zhang Chen, stop pretending. I know your plan is to wait until we get closer and pretend that you were accidentally touched by us, and then faint from the pain, right? A young man exposed Zhang Chen's thoughts. Zhang Chen was stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect that his thoughts would be seen through. However, he would not admit it and said firmly, "Haha, if you want to hurt my senior sisters, you have to step over my body first. Let's go. He is Elder Yi's most favored disciple. If he blackmails us, we will be in trouble. Let's go." A young man shook his head and walked out the door first. "Oh, yes, yes, it seems that this time I have to be pretended by hypocrites again. It's a pity that some fools just can't see it." Seeing this, the others also walked out of the door one after another, not forgetting to say something about Zhang Chen before leaving. The disciples of the sect have sharp eyes. They know how many good things Ruo Qiange has done over the years and how much hard work he has given. And what about you, Zhang Chen? Let's not mention that you have done few good things. When encountering certain life and death crises, you find excuses and run away the fastest. To put it bluntly, Shishi is a hero based on material things, and he is greedy for life and afraid of death. And how many of the good deeds you do are sincere? Moreover, Zhang Chen would be dead sooner or later like this, so there was no need for them to offend him, otherwise they would be doomed if they blackmailed him. As for teaching Su Rui a lesson, haha, there will always be times when she is alone, right? When the time comes, the brothers can teach me whatever they want. After everyone had left, Zhang Chen quickly turned his head and said with a tender expression, "Senior sister, junior sister, were you not scared? Senior brother Zhang, you are so handsome." Su Rui clapped her hands. But what she forgot was that Ruo Qiange also protected her in this way when she was a child. It seems that Su Rui has become accustomed to Ruo Qiange's kindness and takes it for granted, so she was so moved when Zhang Chen took action to protect herself, forgetting that Ruo Qiange also protected herself in this way. Ruo Qiange, who was in the courtyard, received another notification from the system, which was about Su Rui increasing Zhang Chen's luck, but he was too lazy to pay attention to these messages, which would only waste his precious time. What he cares about now is when will Yi Qingshui find out the truth, then he will regret the last wave and give himself some rewards. From transmigrate to now, Ruo Qiange also understands the purpose of the system. What I did before was the first mission for a novice, so the rewards would be relatively generous. In the future, if I want to become stronger through the system, I can only have two ways. One is to temporarily trigger the mission from the system, and the other is to collect the negative emotions of the heroine and the protagonist, including but not limited to anger, regret, panic, etc., transformed into points of revenge. After all, don't forget, this is a revenge system. Things are really getting more and more interesting, GG. At Daong, the main peak of the 12 peaks, 11 elders and the sect leader gathered together in the meeting hall. That's probably what happened. What do you think? After Yi Qingshui told the details of today's events, she handed over to everyone. Isn't this nonsense? Zhang Chen can be executed directly? An old man with a beard knocked on the table angrily. No, this matter has not been settled yet. Yi Qingshui's face became a little ugly and she stopped her. I think what Elder Luo said is absolutely true. No matter what aspect of this incident, Ruo Qiange will not lie, so it can only be Zhang Chen. Holding a long sword in his chest and looking like a heroine, Elder Feng smiled evilly. Me too. Well, I also agree with Elder Luo's statement. The case can be finalized directly. Everyone felt that the bearded old man was right. Hearing this, although Yi Qingshui's face was very ugly, she still stood up and sighed and said, "Both of them are my apprentices. I believe that neither of them will lie. Before I get evidence, I can't draw any conclusions." Yi Qingshui said this not because she believed in Zhang Chen. The person she truly loved from the bottom of her heart was Ruo Qiange, but the righteous thoughts in her heart made her not want to wrong any good person. Yes, Yi Qingshui loved her apprentices very much and regarded them as more important than her own life. Elder Yi, it's not that we don't want to investigate, but the people in the ancient world can't afford to offend. Yes, the truth of this matter is already obvious. There is no need to antagonize the ancient world. Suddenly, someone knocked on the table. Everyone in the venue fell silent, and it was Sect Master Hua who was sitting on the main seat who spoke. Please listen to my analysis, and you will probably know who is good and who is wrong. The woman in pink clothes sitting on the main seat held her cheek and sighed helplessly as she looked at Yi Qingshui with a determined look on her face. First, Qian Zhe is a child with extraordinary talents. We old guys have put a lot of energy into him, so we naturally understand what kind of child he is. We would not tell such lies. 2. What is the purpose of Qianzhe destroying 2 supreme bones? Is it more cost-effective to destroy 2 supreme bones than to give away 1 root bone? Or does he have a grudge against Zhang Chen? I don't think so. Qianzhe has a close relationship with the disciples of the sect. Well, if they really turn against each other, it only means that Zhang Chen has a bad character. So it seems that whether there is a grudge or not, the probability of what Qianzhe said is true is more than 90%. 3. You have watched Qianzhe and Zhang Chen grow up. Qingshui, you are already quite old, so you should have some ability to judge right from wrong, right? Even outsiders like us can make up our minds. If Qianzhe has grievances in his heart, you should be the one as master so cruel and turning a blind eye. After Sect Master Hua finished speaking, he turned his head away, as if he felt lost. Both of them are my disciples. I can't take sides with either of them. If Zhang Chen is really wronged, what should he do? Yi Qingshui sighed and spoke slowly. Yi Qingshui's rules for dealing with people are like this. If you make a mistake, no matter what your status is, you must treat it with equality. If I had known I wouldn't have left this child in your hands. Now such a genius who is destined to stand at the top of the world has been ruined by you. Are you happy now? Elder Luo pointed his finger at Yi Qingshui and became very angry. I'm right. The truth hasn't come out yet. Haha. Since you are afraid of offending the ancient world and dare not investigate, then I will go myself. After Yi Qingshui left these words, she stood up and walked directly out of the lobby, leaving everyone with a heroic back. It's such a pity that Qianzhe is a kid. I tease him every once in a while. He's a pretty good kid. Elder Feng sighed. Ruo Qianzhe should not have been given to her as her apprentice back then. Elder Lei played with the thunder snake in his hand very unhappily. Don't talk about it, everyone. Yi Qingshui is the most upright among the 12 old guys among us, and he also loves his apprentice the most. If Qianzhe has 2 immortal bones, it is easy for people to covet him. It was not the 11th of us at the beginning. Do you think she is the most suitable candidate? What's more, Ruo Qianzhe was brought back by Qingshui. Sect leader Hua spoke. Then how should we deal with this matter? Should we draw a direct conclusion? Of course. Do we still have to offend the mysterious ancient world? It's not worth it, Elder Luo said helplessly. Haha. The disciples of the sect have been harmed like this, and you are still so shy. In the future, won't everyone be able to come and step on my Ziyang sect? Elder Feng still held a sword in his chest and closed his eyes with a playful smile. The ancient world is indeed powerful, but our Ziyang sect is not a vegetarian. If you dare to stretch your hands and extend your devil's claws on the body of our sect's talented young man, you will definitely break his muscles and bones. Sect leader Hua held his cheek and said such an extremely calm word. But the faces of the people present became serious, and no one thought she was pretending to be joking. Don't look at the fact that Sect Master Hua is usually soft-spoken and gentle, and rarely says harsh words. That's because whenever she says harsh words, she must mean what she says and never show off. She was already in the divine sovereign state when she was 17 years old, carrying the innate Dragon Ball by her side, and her talent and potential were not much worse than Ruo Qianzhe's. Now the Hua sect master has long been a land god, and has become one of the top powers in this world. So there is no doubt that Ruo Qianzhe can achieve the status of a land god in the future, and even go further than her, and can find a way to ascend to the upper world and find immortality. But such a genius was strangled in the cradle by the witch of the ancient world. How could sect leader Hua be so angry? What's more, she still likes the child Ruo Qianzhe so much. Everyone here should have no objections, right? Sect leader Hua glanced at everyone indifferently, still holding his cheek lazily with his hand, as if he was telling a very ordinary thing. The ancient world has bullied me too much, it's time to make them pay the price. Elder Lei was the first to offer support. Yes, we must let these bastards in the ancient world see blood. Feng Wuyi. At this time, Ruo Qianzhe was still lying leisurely in the yard basking in the sun, listening impatiently to the complaints from the disciples of the surrounding sects. He had no idea that such an important decision had been made secretly at the top of the Dao sect. In terms of overall strength, Guji and Ziyang sect can only barely have a 60-40 split, and Ziyang sect has a relatively small chance of winning. Why does sect master Kahua dare to propose such a resolution? First, because of her temperament, she really couldn't swallow this, and she had to stand up for her disciples. The second reason is that people in the ancient world will not show their true intentions. If they do, the Ziyang sect will also show their true intentions. If the ancient world wins, their vitality will be greatly damaged, and their status in the world will be completely lost. They will even be tricked by their enemies. Senior brother Qian, that Su Rui has gone too far and said such shameless words. Even the beasts have more conscience than her. Many people gathered around Ruo Qian's yard and were aggrieved for him. Haha, it's just expected. Ruo Qian just smiled faintly. Regarding Su Rui, he was not surprised at all, no matter how unnatural things happened. Because Ruo Qian was so stupid in the past, thinking that he could get sincerity with his sincerity, because he himself was such a person who valued affection. When others are good to him, he is also good to others, so he thinks that if he is good to Su Rui, the other party will also be good to him. But Ruo Qian doesn't know that not everyone values friendship as much as he does, and not everyone has a conscience. Su Rui relied on Ruo Qian's love for her and became more and more aggressive, thinking that even if she scolded Ruo Qian would not only not be angry, but would also think about whether she had done something wrong. Then she would coax her. But she was wrong. Now and then, the former Ruo Qian was dead, and the current Ruo Qian was no longer a deadbeat. Just wait to regret it. At that time, she will fall into deep self-blame and shed crocodile tears. I know my brothers care about me very much, but you also know my physical condition, so please leave first. Ruo Qian looked around at everyone and sighed. He doesn't like crowded places. After hearing Ruo Qian's words, everyone in the venue lowered their heads in discomfort. This group of them has the best relationship with Ruo Qian, so they sympathize with his plight very much. From a genius to a waste in an instant, senior brother Qian must feel a huge sense of disparity in his heart. We understand. After everyone thought about this clearly, they said goodbye to Ruo Qian one after another and left the courtyard. At the same time, as they were leaving, they told the sect disciples not to disturb senior brother Qian. Finally quiet. Ruo Qian breathed a sigh of relief. By the way, system, what is the meaning of revenge in your revenge system? Under the influence of Zhang Chen's Zhangzi halo, the heroine was bewitched to kill the original owner of Ruo Qian. She watched helplessly as the person she loved most stabbed her heart with a sword. The pain Ruo Qian endured before she died was incomparably huge. The revenge of this system does not mean killing the heroine, but killing the culprit Zhang Chen. There is another point of revenge, which is to make the heroines who were sorry for the original heroine of Ruo Qian live in deep guilt and make them realize how much harm they have committed to Ruo Qian. In this way, if Qian's original owner Zhuquanja looked at the people he loved most and realized how sorry they were for him, instead of being expressionless and indifferent when a sword pierced his heart, he could also smile. Ruo Qian's only enemy is Zhang Chen, and he doesn't want to see his master and senior sisters die, so there is no need to kill them. So what the host needs is to make the heroines feel deeply guilty towards Ruo Qian by any means possible. It is worth mentioning that everything this is done is to avenge the original owner of Ruo Qian, and you are not the original owner. You have no hatred towards these female protagonists and Zhang Chen. Please don't overdo it, host. Just think of it as a mission execution. And the host does not need to feel too much guilt. The purpose of this system is to avenge the original owner of Ruo Qian, and all of this is in line with his wishes. Well, I understand. Ruo Qian nodded. He relies on the system to become stronger, as long as he treats it as a task. The heroines followed what the system said to make them feel regretful, and Zhang Chen just killed them. It's just that he can't kill the other party yet. So now we can only start with the female protagonists. Revenge against Yi Qingxue is the simplest. Because Yi Qingxue wrongly blamed herself, she will definitely feel very guilty about herself after finding out the truth. As long as she doesn't forgive her, then it will be fine. And not only did he not forgive her, he also mutilated his own body, destroyed his own skills, destroyed his state, and so on, and damaged her as much as he wanted. How uncomfortable was this for her? Ruo Qian has already thought of the scene where the master cried and hugged her with raindrops, begging her to forgive him. After all, it is the early stage of the plot. The more Yi Qingshui says this, the more intense her self-harm will be, and the sadder she will be. There is also Leng Huaning. It is actually very simple to take revenge on her, because if Qiange knows, the deepest link between the two is emotion. That feeling was accumulated in childhood and is very deep. It's just that Leng Huaning didn't realize it for the time being. After all, people don't know how important many things are until they are lost. What Ruo Qiange did was to deny her childhood emotions step by step. Just like the fairy flowers they planted together, they spent a lot of effort and had a lot of good times together, but Ruo Qiange just fed them to the dogs. This is one of the ways of revenge. Of course, Ruo Qiange was not idle during the time when she was basking in the sun, and she also thought of many ways to torture people, all of which were excellent, the kind that made her feel happy and relieved just thinking about them. Finally, there is the white-eyed wolf. The best thing to do is just ignore her. No matter what she says, ignore her. People like Su Rui are mean. There is someone who is willing to accept shortcomings and loves her. Instead of cherishing her, she relies on Ruo Qiange's love for her. Who else in the sect will care about her in the future? Just when Ruo Qiange was thinking about things, there was a sudden knock on the courtyard door. Ruo Qiange recovered her thoughts and found 3 Taoist figures standing in front of the courtyard door, namely Leng Huaning, Zhang Chen, and Su Rui. After seeing the people coming, Ruo Qiange simply turned his head away and ignored them. The 3 of them opened the courtyard door, walked in one after another, and came to Ruo Qiange. But Ruo Qiange still lowered his head and squinted his eyes, pretending not to know that they had arrived. Seeing this scene, Leng Huaning couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. She knew that Ruo Qiange was angry with them, but she also admitted that the damage caused by this incident to Ruo Qiange was too great. But Su Rui felt a little unhappy when she saw Ruo Qiange lowering his head. "Yell. You've learned how to show off your temper, right? I won't teach you a lesson." Su Rui decided that she would ignore Ruo Qiange for 3 days and pretend not to see him for these 3 days, which would make him anxious to death, hee. "Junior brother Qian, we are here to see you," Leng Huaning said softly. Ruo Qiange didn't even raise her head and uttered one word: "Get out." Leng Huaning. Hee. When Zhang Chen saw this scene, he just smiled slightly, stretched out his hand and said, "Senior brother Qian is probably angry with me. There is no need to vent your anger on senior sisters, just come to me." This is one of Zhang Chen's skills, to win people's hearts. Zhang Chen can analyze the changes in the situation and then make some actions on his own to achieve the effect of winning people's hearts. Ruo Qiange slowly opened her eyes and glanced at Zhang Chen. "I never take trash like you seriously, and I won't waste my time getting angry. Are you narcissistic?" Zhang Chen. "Ruo Qiange, don't go too far. Senior brother Zhang is also caring about us. How can you scold him like this?" Su Rui stood in front of Zhang Chen and scolded loudly. Ruo Qiange looked at Su Rui coldly. Just as he was about to speak, he felt sick in his stomach. Before he could say anything, the vomit rolled up and he vomited it out. Vomit. Because the first person in front of Ruo Qiange was Su Rui, and she was relatively close and unprepared, some of the vomit was directly vomited on her dress, and most of it fell on her feet. Su Rui. Su Rui's whole body was trembling, and her face turned pale. It was so disgusting. The most important thing was that she didn't know what to do at this time. The disgusting look and smell of the vomit were already unbearable for her, let alone how she could think of a countermeasure. "Leng Huaning, don't bring disgusting things here in the future. I feel like vomiting." Ruo Qiange looked at Leng Huaning and said, then turned her head back. Leng Huaning was stunned for a moment, suddenly a little sad, her chin trembled slightly. She didn't expect that Ruo Qiange would actually call her by her full name. "Sister Su, why don't you leave here first? After all, your clothes." Leng Huaning looked at Su Rui aside, but she was only halfway through her words, not finished. Well. Su Rui didn't notice Ruo Qiange's hurtful words at all. Thinking of the disgusting vomit on her body, she panicked and ran towards the door of the courtyard, and disappeared after a while. Congratulations to the host for successfully taking revenge on Su Rui. The compensation is 2 wild boar legs and 6 fairy fruits. They have been stored in the system space and rewarded with 200 revenge points. Ruo Qiange raised her eyebrows. What does this compensation mean? Could it be the food in her stomach before digestion? Haha, senior brother Qian's attitude has always been so bad. coupled with his previous actions, I think senior brother may have some misunderstanding about junior brother and me. Zhang Chen said with a slight smile. I misunderstood you, didn't you? You'll find out when Yi Qingshui comes back, right? Ruo Qianzhi started to argue directly. Reason is on his side, and acting too cowardly will only make people think that he really has a misunderstanding about Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen raised his eyebrows. This kid's words are really uncivilized, aren't they? However, Zhang Chen is the protagonist and a very elegant being. Of course, he cannot scold him back, so he smiled and said, I am now sure that senior brother must have some misunderstanding about junior brother. Are you laughing so hard? I scolded you so much and you still licked your face. You must have cursed me countless times in your heart, right? Bah, you hypocritical villain. After finishing speaking, Ruo Qianzhi couldn't help but spit. Because it was an unintentional act, the saliva accidentally hit Zhang Chen's shoes. Zhang Chen's face turned dark instantly. Congratulations to the host for successfully making Zhang Chen feel angry towards him. The revenge points will be increased by 200 points. Peeved. Leng Huaning covered her mouth and almost laughed without holding back. I don't know why. Not only did she not find anything indecent about Ruo Qianzhi's uncivilized behavior, she actually felt a little happy. In fact, it was because Leng Huaning felt sorry for Ruo Qianzhi that she felt happy when Ruo Qianzhi was finally willing to vent her emotions. Zhang Chen once again suppressed the anger in his heart and said with a forced smile, I don't know the witch in the ancient world, and how can I meet someone like her if I want to? Senior brother Qian must have misunderstood. Hee. Ruo Qianzhi just smiled coldly and didn't answer the other party's words at all. Zhang Chen just didn't know the trap set by the witch. The witch and he were still acquainted, but now they say they don't know each other? I wonder where senior brother Qian got this news. Zhang Chen still had a smile on his face. Of course I know it from other people's mouths. Ruo Qianzhi replied this time. Oh, who is this person? Upon hearing this, Zhang Chen's eyes suddenly lit up and he said excitedly. He must reward the person who dared to leak his information. If I don't tell you, I won't tell you. Are you angry? Ruo Qianzhi raised her finger at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen. If you don't want to say it, just say it. Why do you still speak in such an uncomfortable tone? I noticed that Zhang Chen was angry because of the host, and was rewarded with 300 revenge points. Since senior brother Qian doesn't welcome junior brother, then I'll leave first. Zhang Chen bowed his hands politely towards Ruo Qianzhi and Leng Huaning, turned around and walked towards the door gracefully. Zhang Chen knew that there was no room for redemption for Ruo Qianzhi's attitude towards him and that he could not fool others, so it would be a wise move to leave here as soon as possible. Now only Leng Huaning and Ruo Qianzhi were left in the field. The scene was very calm. Ruo Qianzhi didn't speak, but Leng Huaning wanted to say but didn't know what to say. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Leng Huaning clenched her hands so nervously, raised her head and looked at the blue sky and white clouds, blinked her eyes and took a few deep breaths. After calming down, she looked at Ruo Qianzhi and said with a smile, Junior brother's health should be better, right? Haha, thanks to Master and Miss Leng, although my body was severely damaged and my strength dropped by 3 levels, I still can't die because of the holy pool. Hearing this, Leng Huaning felt a little more guilty. A genius is gone like this. A person who is destined to become Earth immortal and stand at the top of the world. Qianzhi, senior sister is indeed sorry for this matter. This is the lotus lamp in my body. I hope it can help you regain the hope of cultivation. As he spoke, a bright lotus appeared in Leng Huaning's hand. The lotus released light pink aura, lingering with a very strong breath of life. Looking at the lotus flower in Leng Huaning's hand, Ruo Qianzhi couldn't help but open her mouth. This is the natal spiritual creature that Leng Huaning was born with. People may be blessed by heaven when they are born, commonly known as good luck, and be born with some special attributes. These special attributes are commonly known as companion spirits. There will probably be one lucky person out of 10 people who will have companion spirits. Take Ruo Qianzhi as an analogy. He was born with 2 supreme bones. This kind of rarity is as rare as finding a needle in the sea and stepping on a piece of dog poop in the water. The ranking of spiritual objects is divided into heaven, earth, black and yellow, and each level is divided into high, middle and low. Among them, heaven grade is also known as the top level. The higher the grade, the rarer it is. Take heaven grade spiritual objects as an example. not even one among 100,000 people can be found. Supreme bone belongs to a special category of immortal bones. It is one of the rarest accompanying spiritual objects. It is among the high-level heaven-level bones and is close to the top. Let's compare sect leader Hua's dragon pill. Her dragon pill is an ancient green dragon with the 5 pure dragon veins from ancient times. She is also a high-ranking heaven-level person. And Yi Qingshui also has one, an ice sky snow lotus, a high-ranking earth-level person. Leng Waning's lotus lantern is somewhat similar to Yi Qingshui's, but the quality is one level higher than Yi Qingshui's ice sky snow lotus, which is lower in the heaven level. There are both advantages and disadvantages for practitioners who have accompanying spiritual creatures. The advantage is that spiritual objects can assist cultivation, and the speed of cultivation is greatly improved. Just compare a cultivator with a mysterious intermediate spiritual object with an ordinary cultivator. The former will be 2 to 3 times faster than the latter. The specific improvement is look at the characteristics of spiritual things. Another advantage is that it can help the master compete in the peak game, using the weak to defeat the strong without falling behind. Of course, since there are advantages and disadvantages, the biggest disadvantage is that the companion spirit is equivalent to the owner's flesh. If it is discarded, it will cause backlash to the body. Waka Qianj is a typical example. After discarding 2 supreme bones, it will directly become a useless person. However, this is also because the grade of Ruo Qianj's companion spirit is too high, and because both of them were discarded. If someone else had done that, the consequences would not have been so great. Take Leng Huaning as an example. If she gave her companion lotus lantern to Ruo Qianj, her realm would probably regress by about a big realm. That is, she would become a monk in the Taohe realm. At the same time, she also lost the advantage of being able to practice 5 or 6 times faster than ordinary people. She missed the chance to become a land god. The end of her life was at best divine sovereign or even soul formation. Staring at the lotus lantern containing the aura of life floating in her hand, Ruo Qianzhe was slightly absent-minded. What was the reason that made Leng Huaning willing to give it to herself? This one is much better than the other 2 heroines. However, this does not change Ruo Qianzhe's determination to complete the system's tasks. Qianzhe, although this lotus lantern is not as good as your supreme bone, it is still at the level of heaven. It can increase the cultivation speed of monks by 50%. In this way, the lower limit of your life will not be Daohe or soul formation. No, it's half immortal or even earth immortal. Leng Huaning smiled slightly and controlled the lotus lantern to float in front of Ruo Qianj. The aura on your body has become much weaker. Have you lost contact with the lotus lantern? Seeing the blood that could not stop flowing from the corner of Leng Huaning's mouth, Ruo Qianj said lightly. You don't have to worry about me. I, Leng Huaning, owe you this. Leng Huaning wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, tilted her head and smiled. She really regretted why she had said such sad words, questioning Ruo Qianj. Haha, a bitter trick. Ruo Qianj didn't care at all about how the other party was wiping blood and sneered. Bitter meat scheme. Leng Huaning's body trembled slightly, and she said in a trembling voice, Am I such a person in your heart? But before she finished speaking, Leng Huaning was unable to speak. It seems. Ruo Qianj also said this to her when she was destroying the bones. And she herself did not trust Ruo Qianj at that time, and said the 3 cold and ruthless words, bitter meat scheme. Leng Huaning finally realized how desperate Ruo Qianj was back then. No one among the 3 believed in her, but she and Ruo Qianj had grown up together. How sad he must have been then. What, you stopped talking? Seeing Leng Huaning lowering her head, Ruo Qianj couldn't help but laugh. Congratulations to the host for successfully making Leng Huaning blame herself. Revenge points will be increased by 500. Please keep up the good work. Qianj. I was wrong. Leng Huaning still lowered her head, and her voice was as thin as a mosquito. You could tell that her voice was crying, and this crying was not because of grievances, but because of self-blame and regret. A line of clear tears fell from her fair and beautiful face to the ground. Her hands clenched too tightly and blood flowed out, dripping to the ground. Because of the collapse, she lost control of her body's breath, and blood overflowed from the corners of her mouth. This was the internal injury she suffered after losing the lotus lantern. At this moment, a heavy rain began to fall from the clear sky, washing away the blood from the girl in green with her head lowered. The heavy rain ruthlessly hit her already weak body, which was now even more injured. Haha. This trick even invited the Dragon King of the East China Sea. Miss Leng is really serious about it. Why didn't I think of it when I used this trick? Seeing the heavy rain falling from the sky, Ruo Qiange couldn't help but joke. Leng Huaning did not speak, still lowering her head. Because of the rain, it was impossible to tell whether she was crying, and whether the tears she cried were less or more than the rain hitting her face. Because the rain was really heavy, Ruo Qiange walked under the eaves, put his hands next to his mouth like a trumpet, and said, "Miss Leng, come in and have a rest. You are so weak now and you have caught a cold. It's not good, master will blame me." However, Leng Huaning still didn't respond. If Qiange could see it, her neck twitched slightly, as if she was choking. At this time, Leng Huaning had already fallen into memories, recalling her first meeting with Ruo Qiange when she was 6 years old. Recalling that Ruo Qiange was like a ray of light, illuminating her lonely and colorless life. Reminiscing about planting a fairy flower together. Recalling how happy I was playing with him every day. Chica, when you burned Supreme Bone, you must have been thinking about these memories. Woo. Leng Huaning couldn't hold herself any longer when she thought of this. She squatted down, buried her head in her arms, and let out a whimpering sound. She didn't want her to cry too loudly and let Ruo Qiange see herself in an embarrassing scene. Seeing this scene, Ruo Qiange couldn't help wiping her eyes. It's so touching. The acting was really good. It moved me so much, woo woo woo. Ha ha ha. Waka Qiange couldn't help but laugh halfway through crying. I'm sorry, Miss Leng. Your trick is much better than mine. I really can't help but laugh. Ruo Qiange bowed her hands apologetically towards Leng Huaning, but the other party still didn't respond at all, and was still squatting on the ground crying sadly. At this time, Leng Huaning's skirts were soaked all over her body, and her shawl was soaked. She squatted on the ground with her head buried in his white jade arms. Her thin body did look a little pitiful. But Ruo Qiange, who was forced to go dark by a few women and was killed by the people closest to her, isn't it pitiful? What mistakes has Ruo Qiange made? He has a good reputation in the sect, does good deeds every day, and pays attention to feelings. Why did he end up being killed by his relatives? Wasn't Ruo Qiange at that time more desperate than Leng Huaning at this time? In comparison, wasn't her behavior just a petty fight? So much suffering but so much love? You can cry if you want. Just don't put the hat on my head when master comes back. Ruo Qiange didn't look at Leng Huaning again, turned her face away and said this, and then walked into the house. It was too cold outside, and his newly seriously injured body couldn't withstand the cold. As for the lotus lanterns still floating under the eaves, Ruo Qiange did not pick them up. After a long time, a word came from the room. You and I have nothing to do with each other anymore, so why do you owe me anything? Just take the spiritual objects back and don't count the lost cultivation on my head. Continue on your journey of cultivation, this is your dream. I'm just a loser. From now on, you take your Yangguan road and I cross my single plank bridge. If Qiange took a bath, she would just lie on the table and think about something. After thinking about it for about an hour, she fell asleep unconsciously. The rain fell very hard and it stopped after about 3.5 hours. It was already midnight. Leng Huaning had been sad for so long. Maybe she was hurt enough. She stood up and wiped the tears from her face. Rain, maybe my sleeves are too wet, so I can't wipe them clean, and my eyes are blurred. There was a burst of golden pink light under the eaves, and Leng Huaning noticed that it was her own lotus lantern. Leng Huaning wiped her face with her sleeves several times, trying to make herself less embarrassed. She walked to the eaves and held up the lotus lantern in deep thought. She walked to the side room and knocked. When no one responded, she couldn't help it and opened the door carefully. Then he saw Ruo Qiange lying on the table. Leng Huaning walked in. Because of her state and wuxin, Ruo Qiange didn't notice at all and still slept soundly. Leng Huaning's hands stained with tears and water touched Ruo Qiange's handsome and charming face. Her body trembled. Her body was full of tears and water flowing down her cheeks to the table, and she choked with sobs. Yes, sorry. Another stream of clear water fell on the table. It was no longer clear whether it was tears or water. After a long time, Leng Huaning finally stopped crying. He looked at Ruo Qiange's shoulder, which was still covered in blood. There is no bandage, and I just rely on my body to stop the bleeding naturally. This stupid boy must be angry with himself, so stupid. Leng Huaning shook her head with a wry smile and took out the medicinal herbs for treating trauma from the spiritual ring. From dozens of medicinal herbs, I selected 3 that were most suitable for Waka Qianzhe's condition, and then found tools in the house to grind them into powder. The process probably took nearly a stick of incense. Leng Huaning carefully sprinkled the medicine on Ruo Qianzhe's wound, and finally put a bandage on it. After doing this, Leng Huaning wiped the sweat from her forehead, quietly looked at Ruo Qianzhe who was sleeping soundly, and once again fell into the memories of her childhood. In the end it turned into a long lament. After leaving a note, Leng Huaning left. Congratulations to the host for severely injuring Leng Huaning's psychology once and being rewarded with 1,000 revenge points. She is gone now. About 5 minutes later, the system beeped. Ruo Qianzhe opened her eyes, first looked at the bandage on her shoulder, which still had a slight fragrance, and then looked at the note beside her. It was a somewhat sloppy but bold handwriting, written by Leng Huaning. Accept the lotus lantern. If you feel it is not enough, I will give you my life. Want to die? Impossible, absolutely impossible? If you die, I won't be able to complete my mission. What will happen to my system rewards? There are thousands of revenge points and new supreme bone in the system now, but he doesn't plan to take them out. Because he had discussed with the system and wanted to take the most violent revenge on the heroine, there was only one way. It was when they misunderstood themselves that they refused to forgive them, mutilated themselves step by step, and finally said some touching words and committed suicide, making the heroines inseparable from themselves for the rest of their lives, shrouded in the shadow of Ruo Qianzhe. Although Ruo Qianzhe felt a little speechless at such behavior, let's just follow the system's meaning. After all, he relied on himself to become stronger. Now we have to wait and see when Master will find Zhang Chen's evidence. Ruo Qianzhe did not rest or practice during the remaining time, but walked out of the yard and walked in the dense woods of the sect. In the quiet time of night, in the woods after rain, Ruo Qianzhe enjoys this special feeling. Ruo Qianzhe felt that she was a little perverted. He actually wants to use this method to torture others. Alas, fellow Taoist is dead. Poor fellow, I'm sorry. After playing for about an hour, Ruo Qianzhe returned to the house again, sitting in the yard not practicing any exercises, looking like a mess anyway. Because he can always feel that someone will come to see him today. Sure enough, when the sun was only halfway up the sky, the sound of pushing the door rang out. Ruo Qianzhe did not open her eyes, but guessed in her heart. Is it Su Rui? It couldn't be her. She must be accompanying her brother Zhang Chen at this time. I just don't know if your brother Zhang Chen is expelled from the sect after his affair with the witch is revealed. Will you quit with him? Will brother Zhang Chen still pamper you after you are no longer of use? Jia. And this person should not be Yi Qingshui. The witch in the ancient world is not a vegetarian, so the evidence cannot be found so easily. That can only be senior sister Leng Huaning, who, although he already knew, Ruo Qianzhe still pretended that he didn't know who it was, and still closed his eyes and said, "It's me." A girl's voice sounded soft and slightly uneasy. That's right, it's Leng Huaning. Oh. Ruo Qianzhe yelled, still closing her eyes, as if nothing happened. Leng Huaning came to the stool next to Ruo Qianzhe and sat down. She stared at Ruo Qianzhe and said softly, "Don't you ask me what I am doing here." "None of my business," Ruo Qianzhe just said lightly. Seeing Ruo Qianzhe still looking indifferent with her eyes closed, Leng Huaning felt aggrieved for a while in her heart. She bit her delicate lips and said, "I know that the value of that lotus lantern is far less than your two. It's supreme bone, but this is the greatest help I can give you, I'm sorry." Ruo Qianzhe's eyebrows raised. The words were so polite that he was embarrassed to have a fit. "Why do you need to say sorry? It's just that I was too stupid. I used 2 supreme bones to exchange for worthless trust. It's my wishful thinking and self-inflicted fault that I turned from the first genius to a cripple. Could this matter have anything to do with you? Too busy to be cheap." Ruo Qianzhe still had her eyes closed, with no trace of emotion on her face. Hearing this, Leng Huaning immediately felt even more guilty and a little sad. After adjusting her mood, she smiled slightly and said, "Qianzhe, we have lived together for so long. I know that you are a very strong and hard-working person. Although you have lost the advantage of 2 supreme bones, your foundation is still there. With the help of the lotus lantern, your achievements definitely not lower than the land gods." Ruo Qianzhe didn't speak, which made Leng Huaning, who was watching from the side, a little anxious. Half a minute later, a snoring sound suddenly sounded from Ruo Qianzhi's nose. Leng Huaning. Are you deliberately making yourself angry? Ruo Qianzhi, what do you want? I paid you the lotus lantern as compensation. This is equivalent to cutting off my own path in exchange for your future life being more comfortable. Why don't you understand my sacrifices? Well, you still treat me like this. Woo woo woo. Leng Huaning actually felt aggrieved. She had always regarded cultivation as the most important thing before, but now she had given up her most important thing to make up for Ruo Qianzhi. Seeing that Ruo Qianzhi was deliberately angry with him, he couldn't help it. He stood up and yelled at Ruo Qianzhi, but he couldn't help but cry. Congratulations to the host for breaking Leng Huaning's heart, rewarded with 1,000 revenge points. Trouble, I'm moving myself again. Ruo Qianzhi opened her eyes and looked coldly at Leng Huaning, who was squatting and crying. Ruo Qianzhi just looked at Leng Huaning quietly, and after the other party's crying voice became quieter, she said calmly, "Do you know what I really hate about you?" Leng Huaning stopped her tears and raised her head, sniffed, wiped the tears on her face and looked at Ruo Qianzhi in confusion. Where is it? You said you understand me. Then tell me why I practice, Ruo Qianzhi said leisurely with his hands behind his back. Well, I remember you told me when I was a child that you wanted to protect master and senior sister, Leng Huaning said with a nostalgic smile on her face. So, don't you understand? Ruo Qianzhi said lightly. Leng Huaning was stunned for a moment, and then she fell into deep thought. After a long time, she raised her head and said doubtfully, I don't understand. Ruo Qianzhi's eyebrows raised again. Is this woman really stupid or is she just pretending? Having lost something worth protecting, my cultivation is no longer dispensable to me, Ruo Qianzhi said lightly. Leng Huaning carefully studied the meaning of this sentence for a while, and after recalling the meaning, she was stunned. You mean? What you are really disappointed with is that master and I are still there as a junior sister, instead of losing supreme bone myself. Ruo Qianzhi nodded. Miss Leng is really talented and intelligent. She understood the meaning of my words so easily. 1. Standing on the moral high ground and forcing me to dig out my bones, without any regard for my feelings. 2. No one believed me when I brought up Zhang Chen's conspiracy. 3. Watch with cold eyes as I destroy supreme bone. I don't see any value worth protecting. In the end, Miss Leng had to look moved and gave me the lotus lantern as if she had sacrificed a lot. Speaking of this, Ruo Qianzhi sneered. Since you care so much about your own path, why give it to me? A lotus lantern appeared among the singers, leading them to Leng Huaning. But unlike you, I have no interest in cultivation after losing my purpose. Ruo Qianzhi shook his head. The meaning behind his words was obvious. It's just saying that Leng Huaning is very hypocritical. Why should she send lotus lanterns if she doesn't want to? After sending them, she thought about receiving Ruo Qianzhi who would be moved to heaven and earth. If she truly feels sorry, even if there is no repayment or positive feedback, even getting negative feedback is a willingness. What Ruo Qianzhi said later showed that the original owner of Ruo Qianzhi was a person who didn't care about cultivation. Even if he lost 2 supreme bones, he would feel nothing. This made Leng Huaning, who had been crying to death, suddenly feel a little red in the face and feel ashamed. So what exactly do you want me to do? Leng Huaning ignored the lotus lantern on the ground and looked at Ruo Qianzhi with a complicated expression. You and I have nothing to do with each other, so why should you do anything for me? Please tell me what you want me to do to make you feel better. Leng Huaning raised her head and looked at Ruo Qianzhi resolutely, trying hard to stop the tears that wanted to flow. Don't you understand, people? Ruo Qianzhi ignored the other party at all, turned her head to the side and closed her eyes. Leng Huaning didn't say anything, and just kept staring at Ruo Qianzhi. About an hour passed, and Ruo Qianzhi became a little upset at being stared at, so she opened her eyes and looked at Leng Huaning coldly. So what do you want me to do to be happy? Leng Huaning sniffed and said. Ruo Qianzhi sighed, and after a long time, she held her chin and looked up and down Leng Huaning. She was dressed in a green dress and her slender jade legs were exposed outside the skirt. She was a complete fairy beauty. Ruo Qianzhi asked with great interest, Can I do whatever I want? Leng Huaning felt a little uncomfortable due to the malicious gaze of the other party, but after thinking about her guilt towards Ruo Qianzhi, she bit her red lips and nodded. Well, you can do whatever you want. Good. Ruo Qianzhi nodded and said calmly, From now on, you are not allowed to come within 10 meters of me. Leng Huaning. Am I so annoying to you? Leng Huaning wiped away the tears that couldn't help but flow from the corners of her eyes. Congratulations to the host for making Leng Huaning sad. The revenge points will be increased by 100. Haha, yes. If the original owner of Qianzhe was supposed to be standing at the top of the world, but fell down because of the distrust of the people closest to him, if it were the original owner, he would be heartbroken and would only want to stay away from you. Have you cried enough? You are such a big man now, and you still say that you are no longer the crybabies you used to be. It's really disgusting. Ruo Qianzhe said scornfully as he looked at the crying Leng Huaning. Congratulations to the host for once again hurting Leng Huaning's heart, 200 more revenge points. Leng Huaning resisted the tears from flowing out. The tears blurred her eyes, making her feel so strange looking at the figure who had been by her side before her. She suddenly remembered that when she was wronged and cried when she was a child, if Qianzhe was around, she would also feel uncomfortable. He, who could not speak, had to coax her. Even if he coaxed her for an hour or two, she would not give up until she was happy. Ruo Qianzhe. You. Have you forgotten our past and our vows? Leng Huaning said as she wiped the tears that were about to flow out from the corners of her eyes. Oh, oath, what oath? Ruo Qianzhe played with her fingers and said nonchalantly. Leng Huaning was stunned, holding back tears and said, You said that no matter who made a mistake between us, you would take the initiative to admit it. You said that we would not doubt each other. You said you must work hard to become stronger and protect me when you grow up. We must grow up together. Be together and never separate. Congratulations to the host for making Leng Huaning feel wronged, rewarded with 100 revenge points. What do you want to express? Ruo Qianzhe looked at Leng Huaning quietly. You broke your oath. No matter what mistakes we made, we must forgive each other. Leng Huaning sniffed and said softly, her words full of grievances. You are still wronged. Didn't you break your oath first? Have you forgotten what you did yesterday? Ruo Qianzhe immediately laughed out loud. Leng Huaning was speechless for a moment and didn't know what to say. I was indeed wrong about this matter, but it was said in the oath that no matter who did something wrong between us, we must forgive each other after admitting our mistakes. Leng Huaning looked at Ruo Qianzhe seriously and said. Oh, what else do you want to say? Ruo Qianzhe said lightly. According to the oath, we should forgive each other. Leng Huaning seemed to have grasped a glimmer of hope, and there was another glimmer of light in her eyes when she looked at Ruo Qianzhe. Well, Miss Leng is really a noble person who forgets things. You are you now, I am me. Don't remember the past, and there will be no relationship from now on. Who said that? Haha, I still remember it very clearly. Add 500 revenge points. It seems that the host has mastered the tormenting truth, which is very good. After listening to what Ruo Qianzhe said, Leng Huaning felt her heartbeat stop. Yes. I said these words myself. Leng Huaning smiled self-deprecatingly. I was indeed wrong about this matter, and I won't ask for your forgiveness. Leng Huaning was silent for a long time after saying this, and then said, Have you forgotten how wonderful the time we lived together was? Are you happy? Don't think about the past, we don't have anything to do with it anymore. Ruo Qianzhe just smiled. The host kills and kills the heart, revenge points plus 1000. Leng Huaning's head dropped, and her tears flowed out unsatisfactorily again. After the other party cried for a while, Ruo Qianzhe said lightly, Oh, I forgot about this. How about Miss Leng help me recall it? Ruo Qianzhe said with a slight smile. Leng Huaning's eyes suddenly lit up when she heard this. It seems that things have not settled yet, and the relationship between himself and Qianzhe can still be restored. Thinking of this, Leng Huaning felt that her whole body was full of energy. We met when you were 5 years old, and you were like a ray of light that illuminated my lonely and lightless world. Ruo Qianzhe nodded. To be honest, this girl's literary talent was quite good, which made him feel a little cold. Then we planted a fairy flower together, and we would take time to take care of it every day. It contained our beautiful moments. Having said this, a touch of happiness appeared on Leng Huaning's face, and she had already fallen deeply into memories. When she came back to her senses, she sighed and said, Unfortunately, due to my cultivation, I slacked off on this flower. Take care of. Leng Huaning's eyes suddenly lit up when she thought of this. She looked at Ruo Qianzhe and said excitedly, Let's go see the fairy flowers together? Flowers occupied a lot of their time between the ages of 6 and 12. Leng Huaning believed that as long as Ruo Qianzhi saw them, she would be able to recall the deep bond between the two of them. Leng Huaning looked at Ruo Qianzhi nervously with her eyes unblinking, for fear that he would refuse. Okay. Ruo Qianzhi smiled and nodded. After hearing this, Leng Huaning breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Ruo Qianzhi didn't refuse, it meant there was still hope. Please. Ruo Qianzhi stood up and made a gesture of invitation. Leng Huaning stared blankly at Ruo Qianzhi's face that was smiling so much that she wanted to hold back a smile. Suddenly, she felt that Ruo Qianzhi had changed and became so gentle. Maybe he was also thinking of the happy time he and her spent together every day. Uh-huh. Leng Huaning nodded and walked into the garden side by side with Ruo Qianzhi. After arriving at the garden, Leng Huaning was immediately confused. She clearly remembered that the fairy flowers were planted in the middle, so why were they missing? Leng Huaning looked around again, but still couldn't find the fairy flower. She looked at Ruo Qianzhi beside her and smiled softly. Qianzhi, where did you secretly hide the flowers? It was secretly hidden in the dog's belly. Ruo Qianzhi responded with a smile. Huh? What do you mean? Leng Huaning didn't understand what the words meant for a while. Feed the dog. Ruo Qianzhi explained with a smile. Leng Huaning. You are joking, right? Leng Huaning still looked at Ruo Qianzhi with a smile, her eyes as charming as silk. By the way, this one is yours. Ruo Qianzhi ignored the other party, but took out a jade box, stuffed it into Leng Huaning's hand, and said with a smile, open it. Leng Huaning was stunned for a moment, and opened the jade box uneasily. Inside was. No, it's half a white fairy flower. And why does it still feel familiar to her? Why does it look so similar to the one she planted with her junior brother? Leng Huaning was stunned for a moment. What's going on? Looking at Leng Huaning's stunned look, Ruo Qianzhi smiled slightly and said, you always come to take care of the fairy flowers only once every 10 days or even every month or two, and I just didn't want to plant them yesterday, so I thought it would be okay to keep them. So I gave half to each person, and I fed my half to the dog. Kill people and kill the heart. The host is very bad. Reward 1,000 revenge points. Ever since Ruo Qianzhi finished speaking, Leng Huaning had not spoken, and her whole person was as quiet as if she had disappeared. Ruo Qianzhi glanced at Leng Huaning cautiously and found that the other party's fists were clenched tightly, and crystal-clear tears fell on the ground along her face. The autumn water in Ruo Qianzhi's eyes surged slightly. It took a total of 10 years to plant this flower. If you only count the time of careful care, it still has 6 years of memories. It was okay to say that I picked it because I had an urgent need, but I just fed it to the dog. His mood was somewhat touched. After all, he was not the original owner, and the person hurt by Leng Huaning was not him after all. But it's just a touch. He will not give up on completing the tasks assigned by the system. Miss Leng. Why are you crying? Don't you care about this fairy flower? Ruo Qianzhi continued to tease. He. Leng Huaning suddenly laughed, which startled Ruo Qianzhi because her laughter was a little strange. What are you doing? Why did you suddenly laugh when you were crying? Ha ha. Ruo Qianzhi hurriedly moved back a few steps and looked at Leng Huaning's figure nervously. He suddenly felt that this woman was terrifying. Could it be that he wanted to stab himself to death because of what he had done? Ruo Qianzhi became a little nervous for a moment. Under Ruo Qianzhi's extremely nervous gaze, Leng Huaning slowly walked over. At this time, the tears on her face had disappeared, leaving only a few shallow tear marks. Leng Huaning grabbed Ruo Qianzhi's hand under his nervous gaze and said softly, I was indeed wrong about what happened before. I have indeed been far away from you in the past 4 years. Now let's go back 6 years. How was it when we lived together before? Looking at the innocent face of the girl who was beginning to cry with joy, Ruo Qianzhi also felt a little cold, so she said, no. Leng Huaning. Her chest began to rise and fall rapidly. Ruo Qianzhi, are you teasing me like this on purpose? In fact, you have forgiven me a long time ago. Leng Hua stood on tiptoes, close to Ruo Qianzhi's face and stared into his eyes. Feeling the pure fragrance of the girl, Ruo Qianzhi took 2 steps back and said with a dark face, why are you so close to me? It's disgusting. He originally wanted to curse some curse words, but he couldn't. Leng Huaning remained silent and stared into Ruo Qianzhe's eyes. Ruo Qianzhe rarely looked at a woman like this before her transmigration, let alone a woman as beautiful as Leng Huaning, so she subconsciously turned her head away. Leng Huaning was stunned at first, and then said happily like a child, "Ruo Qianzhe, have you forgiven me? You really have forgiven me?" Ruo Qianzhe is no longer indifferent. She knows that the Ruo Qianzhe who used to be shy when looking at her is back, and she must cherish it. Hurry up and scold her, we can't let her misunderstand. What the hell did you say to your mother? Who has forgiven you? Ruo Qianzhe cursed loudly. Haha, Leng Huaning didn't say anything, and covered her mouth with a smile on her face. If you don't forgive me, then don't accept the lotus lantern, otherwise I will pierce my chest with a sword. Anyway, you won't be sad, hee. Leng Huaning left these words and trotted out of the yard. Looking at the departing figure in Qingyi, Ruo Qianzhe didn't know what to do for a moment. After a while, he ran back, stuffed a pack of herbs into Ruo Qianzhe's hands, and said softly, "Remember to change the dressing." Then he ran away again. Do you think she will be alienated by Zhang Chen after she returns? Ruo Qianzhe couldn't help but ask. Yes, as long as the protagonist does not die, the 114,514 female protagonists in this world will be assimilated by him sooner or later. Please be determined to take revenge. You only need to complete the tasks assigned by the system, without any psychological guilt. If that doesn't work, I'll be the bad guy. Aren't there only a few heroines? How come there are so many? The plot is the limit of the novel, not the protagonist. Ruo Qianzhe hesitated for a while and said, "Then I will kill Zhang Chen first. And then come back to torture these heroines. Is that okay?" The protagonist is protected secretly by a witch from the ancient world. The host is temporarily unable to kill the opponent, so the host is asked to continue working hard to avenge the heroine. Revenge for Ruo Qianzhe. Alas, it seems we can only continue to torture them. Ruo Qianzhe sighed. But he planned to torture someone else, Yi Qingshui or Su Rui. Well, let's choose our master Yi Qingshui. Su Rui really can't be interested. First, she felt that the targets of revenge were 3 people, and a bowl of water was needed to equalize them. Second, in this situation, Leng Huaning thought that Ruo Qianzhe had forgiven her, so it was difficult for her to take revenge. She could only wait for an opportunity to make Leng Huaning think that Ruo Qianzhe had forgiven her. Qianzhe still hates her, and then it will be the time for revenge. Ancient World. The ancient world is an isolated space. Legend has it that it was opened up by a celestial immortal when the great Tao was strong in ancient times. The sky here is dark green, the flowers and trees are withered, but they are still growing every day. The animals and buildings here are also very strange, giving people a feeling of the underworld. I wonder if the celestial immortal wants to scare away the intruders. In a dark palace, Yi Qingshui was dressed in white and looked coldly at the charming woman on the throne, wearing a black princess skirt and a crown on her head. What is your relationship with Zhang Chen? How dare you speak to me like this? Mo Yuihan's face instantly turned cold, and a powerful pressure fell directly on Yi Qingshui's body, making it difficult for her to straighten her back. Light blue aura emerged from Yi Qingshui's body, resisting Mo Yuihan's aura, and spoke again. You just know Zhang Chen. Mo Yuan was stunned for a moment, waved his hand to take back the pressure, and said with an unhappy expression, Don't forget you're in my identities, and who is Zhang Chen you are talking about? I don't know him. Moyue Hanyu held her cheek with her hand, licked her lips and looked at Yi Qingshui with a playful expression. Ziyang sect. Brother Zhang Chen, you stay at home. I'll go out and buy some herbs. Su Rui gave Zhang Chen some instructions on the bed. Because Yi Qingshui was not in the sect, she had no choice but to buy the elixir by herself to treat Zhang Chen's condition. Sister Rui. You'd better not go out, Zhang Chen said with some worry. Have you forgotten what happened yesterday? There are a bunch of people blocking you. Haha, it's okay. I have seen your brother Qian protecting me. They don't dare to do anything to me. Zhang Chen originally wanted to give some more advice, but after thinking about it, he still felt that his own life was more important, so he changed his mind and said, Junior Sister Su, this matter can indeed be avoided in the first grade of junior high school but not in the second grade of junior high school. If people really block you, then let them take you to senior brother Qian's house and ask senior brother Qian to take action. Elder Feng, Why do you have time to see me? Under the chess table, Ruo Qiange stared blankly at Feng Yi, who was dressed in white and had sujuan in her eyes. Can you really see with the cloth wrapped around your eyes like this? And why do you have a strange feeling? Of course I can see it, haha. Feng Yi dropped a white seed and smiled slightly. Damn it, you can read minds? Ruo Qiange was immediately startled. Feng Yi, the elder of Ziyang sect, one of the heroines in 114,514, is accompanied by a spiritual creature, the destruction demonic eye. It can see through illusions and carry out spiritual attacks, and can peer into people's hearts to a certain extent. I have heard about your matter. Sect leader Hua and your master will seek justice for you. The corners of Feng Yi's mouth rose slightly. Ruo Qiange did not speak, but still stared at the woman in front of him who shocked him. Because in his memory, he thought of a very scary thing. Ruo Qiange has known Sect Master Hua since he was 6 years old, and this Sect Master Hua, how should I put it? An immortal cultivator over 100 years old, seems to be a bit fond of himself. This child, well, this child Ruo Qiange is very likable. Yes, the answer with high emotional intelligence is that the child Ruo Qiange is very popular with Hua Qingyan. Ruo Qiange met Ruo Qiange under the guidance of his master. Ruo Qiange soon fell into a wonderful memory. Hua Qingyan, little brother, is it fun to be with your sister? Ruo Qiange. Fun, Hua Qingyan. How about I take you to my sister's house to play? Ruo Qiange. Great, Yi Qingshui. What a heartless little thing, abandoning the master like this. Because Hua Qingyan is not too serious, she is very good at coaxing children. In addition, her cultivation level is that of a land fairy, and her appearance looks like she is in her 20s, not inferior to Master Yi Qingshui, and she also has a touch of tenderness and charming temperament of a flower, like Qian Zhe. As a child, I was very sensible and quickly nodded and agreed. Just like that, Ruo Qiange's nightmare began.